Happy Sunday to everybody, man. Welcome to Lapeef-ing Sunday. Blessed to be here. Blessed to see another day and to be able to chop it up with you guys. Shane, you there? Okay, well, Shane be doing her own thing. Anyhow, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you
Yes,
subscribe.
I'm here. I just got a phone call. That's all. I'm here.
Gotcha. Make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you are catching us on the replay, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe as well. Got a good show here for you guys. We're going to be talking about when success makes you single, when success makes you single, along with some other goodies that's buried within that topic itself. Y'all ready to do this? I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with this question just to get us warmed up. Do career women respect good men or just use them for stability? Do career women respect good men or just use them for stability?
I don't see that there's a need for a career woman who's a dedicated career woman to use a man for stability, as she's a career woman and can provide for herself. Now, could I see a woman who's a career woman marrying a man for specific benefits of climbing a ladder or merging certain business ventures and having access to specific assets? Yes, possibly. But do I see her leaning on him specifically to provide for herself? No, I don't.
All right, what about you, Courtney?
I'm gonna say I agree with Kiana on this one. I definitely, because if she's already established and she's doing her own thing, I don't necessarily look at it for her. She needs him for stability. Um, I would definitely just say that, the respect aspect of it. I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. But I'll get into it a little later though. I'll let y'all go ahead.
I'll speak at once now. Go ahead, True.
It's interesting how you pose the question. That's why I was trying to think how to tackle it and approach it, directly. You said, does she respect a good man? And what I found is that I don't believe most career women, driven women, ambitious women, I think respect is very subjective. And typically they tend to only be able to respect what they believe is value set based on usually their own achievements, their own ability to digest what maybe they have built. So almost reflective. That's why I hesitated. I'm like, how do we answer this one? Because like a couple of people said about stability. Sure, I mean, if you think that your career brings you stability, you think your job brings you stability, I'd argue you're wrong. But yeah, that's why I hesitated, JR. But that's what I'll say right now. I'm gonna take Courtney's approach and we'll get into it further moving forward.
Okay. Is I don't need a man confidence or trauma?
Oh, I was about to answer the other question. Can I
Answer
just
both for taken.
add no, just adding something to the previous about the respect and do they marry for stability? I think the question that came to my mind was it depends on what stability they're looking for. So I agree with Kiana, they wouldn't need a man for financial stability. But there are other areas that I would consider stability, like emotional stability, things like that, that a relationship is also built on and needed. So I think defining what that stability is for that individual person would make a difference.
Okay. All right, Shan wanted you to answer the other question too. Did she answer it, Shan? Okay. The other question was, is I don't need a man confidence or trauma?
Trauma.
Why is that, in your opinion?
I believe that it's trauma because if someone is in a healthy state of mind, being able to commingle and be in a healthy relationship with another individual wouldn't be something that they absolutely see valueless. We know that men and women, we live together on in this matrix on this planet, and it fundamentally is and structurally is necessary for us to work together. So if you're saying that I don't need a man, I mean, you're negating the need for men in so many spaces that we clearly in society need men for, not just relationships, but we're looking at infrastructure, all sorts of avenues. So to say that you don't need a man, I think is guised as coverment as confidence, but really is the lack thereof.
Anyone else?
Try not. Yeah. Okay. I think there's a difference. um, there's a difference between what she's saying, trauma filled, the I don't need a man, versus saying the I don't need a man to be fulfilled. Those are two different things. I think all people should be able to be fulfilled without having a romantic relationship per se. You don't have to be fulfilled by being in a romantic relationship. So if we're only building it or building it around saying I don't need a man, and you're referring to other things outside of like, like, yes, we would need a man to lift, heavy things, or need a man to, like, if you do want a relationship, things like that. But the idea is, I think some women are saying, I don't need a man to be fulfilled. If I have the option of having a relationship, yes, I would be open to that. But that is not the only thing that I'm striving for, because I'm fulfilled whether I have that romantic relationship with a man versus having a platonic relationship with a man. So that's kind of the way that I looked at it as well.
Go ahead, Naomi.
So I think that we have to be honest about the confidence one. I think it's really just trauma that was forced into confidence, because a lot of women who are sitting there confidently that they don't have to need a man is because they were forced into a situation to where they had to prepare themselves to fulfill themselves to be without a man. I think we need to stop beating around the bush and promoting like, oh, I'm, this big bad person when you're an adult. We're all adulting. It's called self-sufficiency. And if you can take care of yourself, like, we're not giving out participation trophies. I think that's dumb for us to do as a society to women. And we only do it to women because we don't do it to men. As a man, as men are expected to get a good job, be able to provide for a family, all these other things. And then when he's not able to do those things, men are completely shamed. Like, what kind of a man are you? All kinds of things. So like societal wise, with the judicial system, in many different ways, like, men are cut down. But if a woman is self-sufficient and adulting, oh, well, you're this confident person, rah-rahing. I think we need to stop doing that as a whole in society. And it comes around trauma. At the end of the day, like, I think we need to stop giving out participation trophies and stop saying, hey, a good job because you can pay your rent, and you bought a car, congratulations. Like that, we need to stop doing that.
All right. Anybody else?
I mean,
In my
look at,
experience,
go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You haven't gone.
No, I was just gonna say, in my experience, talking to ladies, whether they had been someone I was dating at the time or just even female friends, like anyone that has said that, when I dig a little bit deeper and ask why, why do you feel that way? It's usually something related to an experience they had with somebody. I might ask about a past relationship or somebody they may have been married to, and now, or even something that they've seen, between their own parents. um, a lady might have seen her mom go through a certain amount of trauma or something in her marriage, and so now she's developed this idea or this gate, like, okay, well, I don't need that. I don't need a man. I'm okay. I can do everything that you can do, and so that's generally in my experience. That's what I see and what I hear from most of the women that I've dug a little bit deeper with.
Go ahead, Kiana.
I think that's reasonably consistent. Especially when you get onto social media and you don't hear I need a man, I don't need a man, I want a man. You don't hear that statement as often as you hear I just don't need a man. So those statements are two different statements. I don't need a man, I believe is from trauma strictly because you can accept the need for a man in a healthy manner. And yes, you may not need him to fulfill you completely, but you need a man to have a husband. If you want to have a husband and that's something you're seeking out, then yes, you need a man to do that, do you not? So it's how it's framed. And more often than not, I hear women saying, because this happened to me, or because this happened to my friend or my mother, that I don't need a man because I don't want to be in that same situation or I don't want to experience that again. It's very rare that I hear the I don't need a man, but I want a man.
Yes, I think it comes from the boogeyman complex. You know, like you just said, they have this idea of they see bad relationships happen, then they don't want to be in that same relationship, whatever the case may be. And so that's when they have to reflect back to this little trauma response of I don't need a man, I want a man. It's like, no. And then on top of that as well, they have this mindset and thought process thinking that you have to be 100% dependent upon this man. You're just this hopeless being when you should be interdependent of each other. So I think that's an issue.
My biggest issue is that I hear more and more women saying, I don't need a man, I want a man. But you don't ever hear a man say, I don't need a woman, but I want a woman. Yep. A man will 100% say, I need a woman. Now he'll be like, whenever he's going through something, he'll be like, nah, I'm not doing this thing or whatever. But you don't really hear men say that. You hear women say that, I don't need a man, I want a man. And then when we say, okay, well, what about for protection? Well, I got a pew pew, you know, or I got all these other ways that they use to say that they can make up, even as far as sexually. Like they got toys. They're like, listen, I got this. I'll do this on my own instead. And we're not being completely honest when we're sitting here saying that it's majority of women that are sitting here going round and round in circles, beating around the bush. And I personally believe that it's a women's ego in today's society. Women have such a high ego that is nothing compared to a man's pride, that are minimizing the value of men in today's society. And it's being altered, and if not replaced, with other things outwardly, from toys to even like careers. We can even go as far as like, you know, government assistance, things like that. And it's all to just substitute the value of a man in a relationship. And it's much easier to meet at the whim of like a toy that you don't have to be responsible for it. You know, the government, you just have to like sign up for it. Maybe they might come back around and check on you, you know, every 3, 6, or 9 months or whatever. Yeah, and then it's just a way for a woman to receive. That's why I believe that it's just a woman's ego. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I don't know if that makes sense.
For the panel, I guess, men and women alike. So I agree with you, Naomi, that a lot of times you do hear women, you know, say, I don't need a man, you know, or I want a man. But you don't hear men say that. Men typically say, I need a woman. In this space, I beg to differ. I do hear that a lot about, you know, men saying that they don't need a woman either. But more along the line, I guess the question is, what do men need women for? And I guess y'all can answer that more so. What do men need women for?
That's gonna depend very much on that man's plan and vision he has for his life. But typically, if we're being honest, the survival of a man is not predicated on a woman's existence in his life. That's just without fact. If he wants to expand his family, he's going to need a woman to do that, you know, on a health level, right? But it's different. Most men, I think, when they're approaching relationships, they're operating from a place of like truly emotion, spirituality, the intangibles of sorts. Women bring nothing to men that they need, like truly need. I think the hierarchies of need is very basic. It's spelled out for humans, but that's going to be predicated on that man. We tend to give women a lot more value than they have, but because it's valuable to us. So what may be valuable in my life from a woman for me may not work for Hink, may not work for Edgar. It's going to be predicated on what I decide, because I picked her. I had a vision, so I need her to fulfill this, and then in turn, that is it's valuable or invaluable. But yeah, that's what it is. It's the conjunction of family. Other than that, men typically could live their entire life, in my opinion, and have no need for women outside of the moments of passion and things of that nature. And then I'll answer.
So you disagree with Naomi?
In what way?
Because she said that men don't say that.
Men typically don't say, well, okay, men may say it, because when Naomi said it and I heard it, I think men may say it and it means something different than when women say it. Because typically when women are saying, they're referring to survival. They're referring to him bringing and elevating her life and sustaining it. When men say it, this is true. Men don't need a woman, because women are not in the position normally to revive a man's life. So when they're saying it, that's what they're saying it from. Maybe it is ego, maybe it's pride, but that's typically what they're saying. And it is true. It's proven fact that men don't need women for them to survive. That's kind of irrefutable.
I know everybody didn't get a chance, and I'm mistaken what I hear from everybody, but I wanted to say something just real quick. So through observation, I agree with everybody's point on it. Everybody had good points, the ladies, right? Because we're the only people who can really speak on that. You're asking a woman, right? But if you look at action, right? I believe a man is a great value to a woman. But if we must be honest, we have single women on this panel, and we probably have a man checking for us, and we will not give him an opportunity, which means you don't need it that much. You understand? Because I need to eat. I'm hungry. I have to eat. That is a need. So I'm going to eat. But if you have a man who is checking for you and you're saying no, and you're continuing to be single, there's something in that that's more so of a want than a need. Does that make sense? Like you're continuing. So what I'm saying to you is you're continuing to go to your, because I think like you just stated in your argument, True, there's a reason why you need a woman, right? There's a neat reason why a woman needs a man, but can you live your life without one? There are women who do it every day, right? Only 30% of Black women are even married. So majority of them have to do it daily, right? Now, when it comes to like mistaken, instead if you break it down, you like the infrastructure building, we're not going to take the value out of men, right? When it comes to what they bring to society and to the world, we appreciate that. Yes, we need men for that, but we're just talking about romantic relationship. That's something that this is a very different conversation than society needing a man. You understand what I'm saying? So it's, it's got people who want women who want women.
I totally. Can I ask you a question? My bad, True. Shan, can I ask you a question though? So you said that a lot of these women have men that's checking for them, right? Yes. Would you also agree that a lot of these men that's checking for you guys are the type of men that you don't want? Would you agree with that?
I have a partner.
well, I'm just saying, like,
so what I'm saying to you, Courtney,
I'm saying that like most of the, I'm just saying like in regards to if this was your dream guy, so to speak, right? A lot of women would go for that.
So that's not. So we're not talking about dreams here. Everybody will go for their dream partner. That's the problem. That's the one, right?
But if he checks the list off of the type of man that a lot of women say that they want, right? And don't need, if he checks the box off, she's gonna typically go for him, right?
She's gonna jump on it.
So with that being said, that doesn't fall under the one aspect. That just falls under, okay, well, he's not checking the list off, so I don't want him in that sense, right?
But that's the reason why, like, I'm glad, Shan, you put a preface on it, right?
Yeah.
The conversation, I don't think is fluid in the sense that men need men to survive, right?
Everybody needs men to survive.
Okay, but we're defining it. We're landing it and putting it under the confines of a relationship, and that's why I said when a man says I don't need a woman, that he's not talking about relationship. He's talking about period, because women don't run society. They don't build businesses. They don't run infrastructure. So for a man
they
to say,
reproduce, we can't populate without women.
We understand that. I'm not removing. Okay, so, and I said this when I had my soliloquy. We need y'all for intimacy, procreation, and expansion of family.
It's a necessity.
Removing that, it's value set. But when a woman says I don't need a man, and to your point, she's referring to relationally. They don't say that part. Men don't have the ability to say we don't need men because that'd be a lie. We know that we can't win the championship without other men. We can't win the war without other men. We can't progress in society without men. We actually respect men more than y'all respect men, and your very survival is predicated on our existence. But on the adverse, it's not the same because your existence, we only need so many women to populate the earth in a sense.
But you need a woman.
Again, I'm not removing that. Men understand this, and I'll land. When we're saying that we want a woman, it's for a particular reason. And typically it's something in the confines of intimacy, intangible things. But y'all do not benefit us in a survival-like basis, almost on any metric. And that's the difference. And I think that's why it's like laughable when women say, I don't need a man. Your very existence is us. Your job that you covet, man. Your idea of success, men gave it to you. So it's like blasphemous for women to even say that crap. And, but I'll let.
I think a lot's been said, a lot of lies been told. To say any woman who says I don't need a man, she lying to her goddamn self. But we all know women rather hear a lie than hear the truth. That's just women. That's most women. It's a lot of women up here. So with that being said, you want a man, but you don't need a man. Now, you need a man. That's why you want one. That's why you want one, because you know you need one. You know how you move and operate wouldn't be right without you. Yeah, you can say you could go get a pistol, but if that man got the drop on you, ain't nothing you could do. Now you hoping that male cop comes and does his job as a man. You ain't gonna want no woman firefighter to try to carry your heavy ass about the burning building. You're not gonna want that because it's gonna take about 4 of y'all to carry one of these big heifers. Because they not small no more. Y'all built big. So you're not going to want no woman trying to drag ass out of fire. You don't want no man as an EMS that he might have to do chest compressions on you multiply and then find a way to lift you up on that gurney. Yeah, you're not going to want a woman to do that because she can't afford to do it. She can't. They can't lift them. They can't do nothing with them. So you need a man, whether you want to accept it, admit it or not. We was in some conversations earlier talking about blue pills and shit like that. Somebody said they're going to place it in the food in order to get that man's erection. God damn it, that's crazy, but she realized. She don't want that goddamn plastic.
I missed that.
Shit. She rather poison her goddamn husband in order to get that erection.
Mistaken.
She need that man. I'm just saying. So these are the type of conversations we listen to up here, and people are just lying. And then stand with this bullshit ass nervous laugh and bullshit. You know you lying too. Because you got a man checking in on you on a regular basis. That's the thing you want. You want a man. You don't want look, your girlfriend's checking on you all the time. But the sound of a man with a goddamn deep voice, hey baby, how you doing? Is everything good?
Sexy one with a
You
good
need anything
job.
over there? Oh shit. That Rose ain't gonna be charged up long enough before you start hitting that thing hard after that man hangs up with you. Hey, I was wondering if you could come by and check on some things. I thought I heard a noise in the backyard. I bet you did. Yeah, you need that man to come through.
Why can't we just meet each other?
Make sure. No.
We can.
I didn't interrupt nobody. I was respectful. I sat back for a long time and let the lies flow. Now let me lie. Is that okay? Let me get my lie off. I want to lie too. Like y'all lying. Can I lie too? Thank you. I appreciate y'all letting me lie just like y'all was lying. We're going to lie together. God damn it. As a man, I'm not going to sit there and say I don't need a woman. I tell you the minute I have a problem, I need my wife. I need it for many things. I'm not going to go into all these details on why I need my wife knows, and that's all that matters. It's not for me to tell everybody why I need her. I need her. She does a lot of things for me that I couldn't imagine. She puts up with me. That alone let me know I need her. a person of the opposite sex puts up with me, yeah, I ain't the easy person to get along. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm hard to deal with sometimes, but for majority of the time I'm good. But when I ain't, she's still there. She sticks with me. You know what I'm saying? She makes sure I'm fed, get my nourishment. She makes sure I'm good. When I need that softer side, when I got to deal with my daughter or my granddaughter, my son, certain other people, yeah, you can't talk to them like that. You can't do them like that. And she reminds me. She ain't got to say shit. I just look at she remind me. Yeah, I got to be a little more soft. I got to be a little ease. I can't always come aggressively. And I could agree with that. And it's just a friendly reminder for me. I ain't got no problem with admitting that. That's some of the things she does, amongst other things. So to sit there and say, men, we don't need, yeah, some of y'all know y'all need women more than others. Now, we might not have the privileges as people. You may not be able to get a woman, or a woman may not get a man. Well, yes, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why you ain't get no man. Maybe you need to have a self-evaluation, come to Jesus moment on why you ain't getting no goddamn man, or man ain't getting no woman. You got to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And make the proper adjustments. I'll land it there so y'all can interrupt me.
All right, go ahead, Dar. What you got to add to this conversation before I run into this clip?
Okay, happy Sunday, everybody. I think we're looking at it from an extreme viewpoint when a woman says she don't need a man, and we're trying to generalize it to try to paint it with the same paintbrush or whatever. I think whenever you ask an individual woman, and I guess you got to have the luxury to be able to do that, you might get a different perspective. And one of the perspectives, for example, could be the woman that's saying that she don't need a man. She may be saying that based on her individual lifestyle, that the things that a man brings into her life is not needed for her specifically. So there's really no right or wrong thing. She haven't discovered, or she haven't found it important to tap into what a man could bring in her life that would deem him necessary or needed. So I don't think it's extreme as men holding up the infrastructure. I think if you would ask her if that's necessary, she would say yes. But as far as somebody being in her household, laying in the same bed, bringing resources, she may have positioned herself in society where she could do it all. And that may be what she's speaking to. Not the extreme thing is what we like to tap into as far as men in society withholding the infrastructure for the sake of the economy to continue to run, the roads to continue to be paved, the system to continue to flourish the way it does. I think if we scale back what we think these women mean when they say it, we'll find that they're talking about the things that you bring individually as a man into their life, and she don't find you a necessity. And I think if you start peeling back layers from there, she might be able to substantiate why she feel like she could do it on her own.
But Darwin, they do the same thing when they refer to our existence from a birth canal basis. It's literally pointing out how men, uphold the infrastructure. So I think, to Chan's point, we need each other. But I think this conversation started on the end of women attacking the non-existence of men, or attacking their value in society. So men in return are saying, okay, well, this is why. Like, how is it that you can stand on the shoulders of other men and state that we're not important, all because you make enough money to sustain yourself? And to Naomi's point, you're an adult, so that's expected past the age of, I'm assuming, 25, like a real adult. Why are we even talking about this? It's foolish. Now land.
Okay, so that's a different perspective. But I guess we got to chalk it up to the conversations you had with them whenever they elaborate on it. I just never heard it elaborated to the point to where they say they don't even need you as a human, as a specimen, as a part of the human race. I haven't seen the conversation get that far, but
9 times out of 10, when women are saying that, and when men's response is about, oh, women absolutely need men. They need men as protectors or whatever, to obviously protect us from other men, but that says a lot about the society. However, the other thing is that when we reduce need just to the biological aspect, we overlook the value that both bring to the table. And I think a lot of times in these conversations, when men are saying, well, a woman needs a man doesn't necessarily need a woman, which true, you kind of lay that out, is just for the physical aspect. You say, oh, well, we've built the infrastructure, we did this, so it's your utility, the physical utility of you being a man, right? And so when we reduce it just to the biological aspect, well, in that case, a man for a woman is only needed for his biological utility as well. And I think that is the issue that we're having now, is that when we're comparing the utility of the person, we miss the value that they bring, because now it's just what can they provide, as opposed to the bigger issue is the development within the relationship itself. And we lack those skills. We lack the emotional intelligence. And a lot of times women do bring that to the table. But if that's not valued, then you don't see it as a necessity, right? So I think we have to look at what it is that is what we consider value outside of just the biological sense of it. Because if you, let's say, take the physicality of men, right, they're actually stronger, and get rid of that, then we're both left with the mental aspect. And the only difference between that is based on who does what they need to do to learn more, right? When you're just looking at the mental aspect, the only thing that I would say, if we reduce it to just looking at that, then we're on a level playing field when it comes to that.
Well, see, I think that's what I said moments ago. In the same vein, to your point, Ms. Taken, women drew first blood from a place of convenience. They attacked the function of the man. The function of the man is resources. The function of the man is also biological protection, provision. They drew first blood. So in the conversation in that vein, men are saying the same thing. If we look at your value, just like Hink said moments ago, he placed value on his woman. He placed value. Most men do this because when we're looking at you in the existence of life, women do not provide the same function that men do in almost no measure. That's why the conversations are happening. There's no function that a man can't facilitate for another man to progress things that are infrastructure based. So when a woman draws first blood and says, well, I don't need a man, what is she referring to? Typically, she's referring to the fact that her lifestyle is sustained without his existence, which is not true, because some men exist in her lifestyle, even if it's not romantically. Where on the adverse, a man can say, I do not need a woman, and still facilitate almost every aspect of life that is measurable and that matters outside of relational, outside of intimacy. So
that has to be articulated whenever you're trying to guess. That's why it's required that you extend your line of questioning to figure out, pinpoint exactly why you feel like you don't need them. And if it is outside of relationships, and if it's strictly socioeconomically, then you speak to that. But like I said, and I think Ms. Taken put it perfectly, everybody that's having this conversation gonna run into a biological wall. I don't think nobody's saying we don't need each other biologically. It don't even make sense to entertain that conversation. And if you're having a conversation with somebody like that, that's just gonna insert that. It's gonna be short-lived. You're just gonna go to the next topic because we know that's cap. But we all need each other. It's just we have to. I think it's an individual case-by-case basis. If we ask Ms. Taken why she feel like she don't need a man, she's probably going to articulate that the reason why she don't need him is because she's able to sustain herself socioeconomically. And the things that she would indeed need a man is for those things, to bring financial stability and protection. But if she lift enough weights, she's capable of being able to physically protect herself too. So one could argue that we position ourselves in a society as men, in a patriarchal society, to give women the technology and the capability to protect themselves the way we would otherwise do if we were in their life. They can go out and go to the weight room, get a membership, become bodybuilders, and live just as much as men. Not as much as men, but close to it. But being able to sustain themselves and protect themselves and defend themselves, they can take up martial arts and all kind of stuff. So the question is, what besides infrastructure, what do a woman really need a man for? That's besides infrastructure and biological. They have an argument, and
they're emotional.
We don't have to dismiss
mentally.
it. Go ahead.
Mentally, most women are not logical. Mentally, most women are their hormones is all over the place. They will look at each other and they'll find a way to start fighting and arguing about and lie to each other. There won't be no honesty amongst each other. They'll lie to each other. They'll convince each other, oh, girl, you beautiful. Girl, you fat, ugly, and nasty. And your breath stink. And y'all know it, but girl, he beautiful. But she got a beautiful personality. Bullshit. That ain't what a man looking for. He looking at you out to be, but you telling her she's beautiful. So you'll lie to her. You'll deceive her. Again, they rather hear a lie than live a lie than hear the truth. And so mentally, most of them need a man to calm them, to talk them off the ledge. Oh, hell yeah. There's a lot that they would need from a man, more than just the physical protection, their mental protection as well.
I want to go to Naomi, and then I want to go ahead and get into this clip and dive a little deeper with this discussion. So go ahead, Naomi, and then I'll go ahead and chime in and set the tone.
I think what we're negating is that the need of a man is the value of his essence and presence. Because Hink said something that was so crucial earlier today. And I don't think we really paid attention to it enough. Listen, and I know the women will know, if a man with a deep voice call you to check on you, say, hey, how you doing? And you know that that's what he's doing. It just gives you some type of butterflies. It'll make you tingle. And if y'all say no, then I know you're lying. Like, we can't sit here and pretend like that's not a thing. That is the essence and the presence of a man. That's the need that we can only get from a man. And he doesn't even have to be romantically involved with you. So I'll end there.
So then now you got to give us a scenario. If the essence and the presence of a man was absent, what would her life look like? So give us an example of that.
So okay. Now I'm gonna okay, fine. I'll use myself as an example. So majority of people know that I'm a single woman. And so I have a male friend that like calls and checks on me. Now me and him are not romantically involved, but it brings me comfort in order to know that he'll check on me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just makes me feel good. There's a difference between a man like if a woman is feeling some sort of way, it's different than when a woman who is like receiving like a hug from another woman. Mm-hmm. Is that embrace, being held by a man, especially if he's romantically involved with you, it just hits different and it brings a different level of comfort. And if we don't let that be real and acknowledge its value, then that's how most, like when we first started this conversation.
So your argument is that the hugs are different.
Hold on. When we first started this conversation, one of the things that we talked about was the career woman. Most career women negate the fact that they need a man for comfort. Majority of them are lonely. Majority of them need their back blown out. And it is televised. It is talked about a lot of the time. And I don't mean to get like super vulgar, but that's the truth of it. And it is something that it's joked about. It is something that's talked about. And then they minimize the need for the man. And it devalues men in general.
So your restriction, your logic is based off of heterosexual relationships.
Yes.
Okay. So if the woman was homosexual, then she would have an argument that it's not necessary for a man based off of the example you gave. Because the example you gave was if you premised it as it being outside of a romantic relationship, then you brought it back in to substantiate the essence and presence. When the only difference was the hug. But if you were blindfolded and you were hugging a woman that was flat chested, you probably wouldn't even know whether you was hugging a man or a woman.
I can guarantee you I would know.
Yeah.
I'm 4'11". I guarantee you I would know.
Look, Naomi,
And not only that, this is
Bruce
a
lives in
discussion.
Atlanta and he's promoting this homosexual lifestyle. I don't know why he's promoting that bullshit. Like it's okay.
man,
Who cares about
I don't think that's promoting. I think it's just brought up.
That's irrelevant.
It's not even that.
That's characterization.
It's a matter of
fine.
energetic balance.
That's what you promote.
It's a matter of energetic balance
That is
because
not
when
what I
you look
promote.
at okay, we'll let him get his clarification in on that.
Go ahead, Kiana.
It's a matter of energy. It's a matter of energetic balance. When we look even at same-sex relationships, there's certain things that you see, and typically there's one who takes the masculine and one takes the softer feminine side, and that's the predominant. Yes, there are relationships where there's two feminine women or two really, tough guys together, but the majority that we see, someone is taking the energetic position of the feminine and the masculine. When that translates over to heterosexual relationships, you can even see a masculine woman with a soft man. So everything is about energetic balance. The majority we see is a softer woman and a more masculine man. So everything comes down to that energetic balance, and that cannot be denied, even though there are outliers.
All right, let me get to these super chats and go ahead and get to this discussion. Courtney Egger Show says, shout out to the panel with the $5. Appreciate you, sir. Nisha the guys out the 499. Darwin just solved our relationship issue. My man, semantics. Ikane, business and development, $5. Men compete with men, but women don't want to compete with women. Instead, they want to compete with men. A woman should accept her divine role. I want to thank everybody that has contributed. Hit the like button if you haven't already. That's all I'm asking for. Feel free to donate if you like, but all I just want you guys to do is to hit that like button and share the stream. So the topic is when success makes you single. Recently, Kelly Rowland did a podcast, and I wanted to use Kelly Rowland as a simple baseline because she's been married since 2014, and her and her husband have 2 kids. And I'm not just trying to praise and worship with celebrities, right? But this just shows how possible it is to build life with a woman, can work, grow, and still keep the family structure. You guys want to stay tuned because we're going to play the other side of that coin, which is a Share 7 video angle, which is basically the opposite energy, dating a strategy, protect your lifestyle, get what you need from men, and don't get played by dusty situations. So this poses this question: what are we teaching women and what are we teaching our daughters? Are we raising them to be independent? They can't receive love and leadership, or so marriage and minded they'll tolerate anything just to be picked. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and play this video and what Kelly Rowland had to say. I'm going to go ahead and get you guys feedback on how you feel about what she said.
The women who struggle with having a successful and thriving career and are being told the personal life is going to have to either take a back seat or just not be as successful. Well, number one, be careful who you receive advice from. I do think that sometimes, even if it's people that you love, and sometimes your elders that you love around you, they might have felt like they couldn't do that, but that ain't got nothing to do with you. That's number one. Number two, get you a partner who wants to celebrate that part. You know what I mean? And literally look at you in your eye and say, let's do this. Let's figure it out together. Let's make a plan to do it, because that's what it took from me and my husband. My husband and I had a plan, and he is just Superman. Like, I don't know how I chose him, because all of my stuff would tell you, nope, that's not the one you're supposed to choose. I was totally supposed to choose somebody different. Like, meaning like my trauma was supposed to give me somebody completely emotionally unavailable, unhealthy. You know what I mean? But I chose up because I thought more of myself. So I chose a really good man. And I'm really proud of myself for choosing a really good man. And I'm so proud of us for wanting to do this together.
Shout out to Kelly Rowland, man. Sometimes it just sounds so refreshing to hear positivity and to hear marriage being spoken in such a good light. There was just one saying where people said, I believe our children are the future. You guys agree?
Yes.
Well, we're cooked.
Yeah.
So trying to change us might be a harder task, but our children are the future. So I want to start off with this question. What should a daughter learn first? Self-respect or submission?
Self-respect.
Self-respect. That's easy.
Does anybody say submission? Everybody say self-respect? Okay, why is that?
I'm gonna say submission.
Okay, why is that, Edgar?
Well, the reason, especially if you have a daughter, right? If you have a daughter, I'm gonna say submission first because she has to submit to her parents first. You can then teach her self-respect along the way, but she has to understand that she has to submit to authority. You can't learn self-respect as a 9-month-old. You don't learn self-respect in that way. Those are things that you are taught, but you teach them the submission, understand that there's authority in the household, just as you want your wife to submit to you.
Can you learn submission as a 9-month-old?
Can you what? They already know authority. They know authority when you walk in the room, do they not?
As a 9-month-old?
They may not know the actual phrase and term of it, but they operate as such because they know that you are authority in the home.
Which one seems?
Is that not based on fear?
There has to be a level. There can be a level of it. You submit to God, right? So there has to be a level of fear.
Right. So that's fear. That's
still,
not respect.
In order to have respect, there has to be a level of fear too. Just as you have a manager or a boss, there has to be a level of fear of you doing the wrong thing, you get fired, correct?
Well, Courtney, what is more likely to happen without somebody having to teach you? Submitting to something, someone, or some principle, or having respect for yourself?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
What is more likely to happen without someone else, external from you, teaching you it? Submitting to someone or something, or having respect for yourself?
Well, you're gonna have to submit first.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm saying what's more likely to happen? Damn, you made me fuck my own
naturally, based on what he's saying, what would naturally happen, submission would come from whether if you're a child, submission is going to come automatically, right? Because typically submission comes from something that you depend on. Children depend on their parents, right? So they're going to submit naturally. The self-respect is going to have to come because what happens is if you don't learn the self-respect, you will submit to anything.
Submission is a child is not going to naturally submit. You have to.
I was going to say that actually both of those.
You have to raise your child. You have to raise people, a human being. You have to guide them in a direction to get them to submit. That naturally, the human mind is naturally deviant, and it's going to go its own way. You have to guide.
In regards to being in relationship, right? That has to be taught. But natural submission that would come from like just being born, like that happens whether you are a girl or a boy. So it's necessary to teach both girls and boys self-respect, because you would submit, even men, submission for things that you shouldn't be submitting to, like other friends, submitting to being, a sexual deviant. Like we submit to things all the time. So
you can even look at it in the friend group. I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but you can even look at it in the man's friend group. There's always, quote unquote, I don't like using it, but I'm gonna use it just for the sake of this debate. But the alpha male in the group, everybody else submits to that alpha male in that friend group because they know who that alpha male is. You're gonna submit to him. Because we learned this even from our younger age. you learn self-respect as you get older. You're taught certain things. You got to have certain self-respect for yourself in aspects when you're doing wrong. That's why you get taught up. That's why you get trained up.
But that's not what JR asked. He asked, would you teach your daughter self-respect or submission? We're going talking about the young men. I think.
Yeah, I answered that. Yeah. I say submission.
I agree with you. I wanted everybody to talk. I think submission needs to be taught first, because in order to self-respect and learn self-respect, you have to submit. Like, the reason why I say that is, if I'm teaching self-respect, there is a level of submission because I'm in a position to guide and teach. If I'm teaching self-respect without submission, you be having a battle amongst yourself. So I would teach your submission first.
But is not submission to self-respect?
It's not submission to self-respect.
Isn't submission to self-respect? Because especially with a daughter from a very young age, and we see that this comes very young age. There's women, they're not even women. There's girls having children at 12 years old. So making sure that your daughter understands the meaning of self-respect from the earliest stages of life, that you can instill that incrementally, is highly important. Now, submission, as Ms. Taken said, becomes a matter of survival. So you're going to learn to submit to your parents, especially if they're good parents and they do right by you and teach you wrong from right. You're going to submit to them because that's your need to survive. But self-respect, just because you submit to your parents, does not mean that self-respect is naturally instilled in you. You have to teach that lesson. The other is a survival tactic that you need from the very beginning. There's plenty of people who go through life and survive without self-respect. Do they live a grand life? No, they do not, more than likely. But when you teach your daughter very early, long before she starts getting into her womanhood, to respect herself, she will dodge so many bullets because she will submit to self for survival and say, hey, I need to realize that if I submit to myself and my betterment and my well-being, then I'll be protected. And we have to look at the state of parents. All parents are not good parents. Some parents shouldn't even be submitted to because what they're doing is not healthy for the child. So if she has self-respect, she might reach out to her teacher and say, this is not a good situation for me. My parents are abusing me or treating me poorly. I need help. She needs to know that for me, I need to respect myself enough to remove myself from situations. And as she gets older, that'll have to be so embedded deeply within her, because you're going to be around boys the entirety of your life. Unless you've managed to be a nun or some kind of female monk of sorts, you're going to interact with male kind. You need to know that from the very beginning. And as a woman, and the things that I experienced very, very young, you need to know, hey, this is not for me. I need to remove myself from this because I do not respect it and it does not respect me.
Let's not conflate things, Kiana.
Before y'all go back and forth,
let me go, Darwin. Let me go, because this is fresh in my mind. I don't want to conflate what you said, because some of what you said may have some validity. When I argue my points, I argue them from a healthy perspective. I try not to introduce things that are, to a decay of a child or whatever. Submission is not something that I'm teaching you where I'm saying you need to submit. Submission is position sometimes, and it's in the lessons. And I think sometimes when we hear the word submission, we think you're telling somebody you need to submit. No, you're already in a position to where I'm in the position to guide you. So I'm going to teach you self-respect. But the only way that that's possible, to what you even said, we may even be agreeing, self-respect comes from the lessons of being in a submissive position. How do you learn it? You have to be getting these lessons from someone who is in the position to provide self-respect, because you don't typically arrive at self-respect just with ingenuity or instinct. It has to be taught. So that person teaching is already in an authoritative position, which means by default, you are in a submission position. I think that when we hear submission, people think you're telling somebody you need to submit. So if I had a daughter, I would be teaching her submission without using the word submission. I'd be teaching her honor. I'd be teaching her respect. I'd be teaching her, you said you were on time, and you're on time everywhere. Somebody taught you those things, I'm assuming, right? But you have to be in a position of submission to receive the lesson. That's what I would do.
So submission submission is a matter of trust. So If I trust my parents, then I can submit to them. So then they can teach me self-respect, is pretty much what we're saying, because the person who teaches the self-respect has to be trusted enough for the child to submit to their authority and teach them.
Well, I think you have. I think you're missing it from that aspect too, because I think we're looking at it from a grown person's perspective instead of a kid's perspective. When you're a kid, you don't know if this person is doing the right thing or wrong thing. But you're still submitted to them. That's why you have little kids who watch these thugs and watch these thugs. They see what they're doing and they emulate those things because they submit to them and what they're telling them. So we don't know as kids that this person that we're submitting to is not the right person to submit to. We don't know that until we get later on in age and we realize, because somebody else taught us something different, say that's not the right thing to do. And now you're submitting to that other authority that's teaching you, like, listen, you need to have self-respect for yourself. So yes, you need submission first. You're gonna naturally submit first, regardless. So then
I can
self-respect
admit
comes.
when I'm wrong. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, I understand what you're saying. The perspective from a child's perspective is skewed.
Yeah.
So they latch on to whatever appeals to them, and that could be faulty in nature. So, yes, I could see how submission would have to come first, because in order for them to learn what is right and what is wrong, they have to submit to someone who's worthy of teaching them that. I can understand that. Absolutely. Okay.
Well, let me try to give a perspective on why my perspective is different, and I don't think there's no right or wrong way to answer. It's just how you run your household and how you teach your children. For me specifically, I know submission. There's two ways submission work, or you get somebody to submit. One is incentives, and the other one is consequences. An example of consequences is if you break the rules or you break the law, you go to jail. So submit to the rules. The other example is incentives. Submit to showing up on time so you can get paid. There's many examples, but that is how submission works. Is incentives or consequences to get you to submit. And for a child, most people use consequences to get a child to submit. They don't refrain from feeding the child. The incentives, if you do what you're supposed to do, you get fed, you get clothed, you get shelter. Well, nobody uses that way. We usually use the consequence way by chastising or spanking. But I would say self-respect should be prioritized, and the reason why I said I would prioritize self-respect is because if my daughter have enough respect for herself, when it comes time to choose whether she want to submit to a particular program, a particular man, a particular principle, or anything like that, she's going to evaluate how she respects herself and how she want to put herself in that situation. So if she have enough respect for her, she can have enough discernment to determine whether or not it is in her best interest to submit to anything that's trying to impose submission onto her. But if she don't have any self-respect, she can submit to anything. So prioritizing self-respect is key, because we have to compensate for the fact that our daughters are going to go out in the world and they're going to have their own will of choice, whether or not they want to submit to this or that. But if they with the respect comes the discernment. She have enough respect for her to make an educated or a best interest decision on what she wants to submit to. So that is why I would prioritize self-respect for my daughter.
So Dorian, if for your daughter, that means she would have to submit to you in order for you to teach her, right?
We're talking, yeah. So
yeah, because he came from the aspect of your daughter, so you gotta submit to you in order for you to teach her that self-respect. If she don't respect you, if she's not submitting to you, how she's gonna listen to what you're saying? She's not gonna listen. It's gonna go in one ear and out the other.
That's true, but if I'm able to get her if I'm able to get her attention on a level of being able to teach her self-respect, she's already got to have enough respect for me to sit down and listen. So that's already a given that she's already giving me her undivided attention to listen to the roadmap or any way I want to configure self-respect or how to learn how to be respect herself. So that's a given that she's giving me her attention. She's sitting down and saying, hey, look, okay, what do you want to teach me, Dad? Well, I'm going to teach you how to respect yourself out here in today's society. That alone tells me that she took the time.
That's her submitting to you.
But I don't. But it goes without. But what I'm saying is, it goes without saying. I didn't have to bring that up. I'm in an education stance, so when he's asking prioritize. Let me try to understand this, JR. What do you mean by teaching? When you say teaching self-respect, you mean sitting down and teaching them it, right? You mean sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation with our daughter and showing her how to respect herself, right? I would say if we've already gotten that far where we could sit down one-on-one with our daughter, submission is not even in question. She's already by default submitted to us if she's giving us her ears to learn what self-respect is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do want to get the ladies involved with the conversation real quickly. Would you rather have a peaceful husband or an exciting relationship?
I just have one thing to say about this, I promise. And then I'm going to even answer this next question. Let
Okay.
somebody else go. What I'm hearing is a difference between submission and obedience, right? Blind obedience. I think a lot of what we're talking about, or what it seems to me, is that when you're talking about children, you're I guess what I would say is them acting in obedience as opposed to submission. And the reason is I also think that submission has to be taught. And before that can be taught, self-respect has to come first. And I just wrote some notes for me, like when we're talking about healthy submission, because I got that from True when you said when you're responding, you're always speaking from a healthy perspective, right? So healthy submission is voluntary. That means you're choosing to submit unto somebody else, right? It's grounded in that trust and that safety. When you're a child, you don't really have that level of discernment yet. So it would make sense to teach the self-respect first, because self-respect comes with an internal compass that you begin to learn, like what's right, what's wrong, what my boundaries are, all of these things, right? And then when you get to a level of learning submission, because you have that internal compass of self-respect, you learn what to choose to submit to. So I think that's the difference between what we're discussing. We're discussing obedience of a child versus a choice in submission. That was the way that.
But mistaken, we know for a fact that this is about relationships. I don't know why we took that off the table, because taking that off the table confuses things. We know good and damn well when we come on these panels, at some shape or form or fashion, at some point, we're talking about a relationship. But for some reason, we can't connect the concept to our daughters going out here to pick and choose right and pick a man. So if we move that, that's why this is gonna happen. Because now we bottlenecked everything that the daughter submitting and having self-respect in terms of interacting with her parent. But I think the whole context is her interacting with a man that she might feel worthy of a relationship.
Right.
That,
Because
but
we're
it
talking
starts
about
with the father,
choice
though,
here.
right?
And when
So
you're
if
talking
that's the
about
case, then
kids,
respect
yeah,
has to come
respect
first.
has to come first.
Yeah, it
That's
starts.
all I'm
So yeah,
saying.
so again, it would start from the. It would have to start from the father, though. So that's where you're gonna learn that from. So yeah, we all tie back to relationships, but it has to be a foundation. And where does that foundation start? It starts in the
But
home. It starts in the home. So she already naturally understands submission, and you teach her this self-respect. You're teaching her this self-respect as she's getting older and experiencing life. So that's where she learns that from. We don't just wait, we're not just born and then all of a sudden we're adults and now we have to learn this discernment and learn self-respect. This is taught as a youngin all the way up. So that's why we have to start from the foundation, then move all the way up and then talk
Well,
about
then
that.
in that logic, we would all have to agree that the submission is fluid across the father and the man that she chooses. But we've seen in many cases it just don't work like that.
Yeah,
All right.
A daughter submitting to her father is totally different than her electing and choosing to submit to a man, because she has the choice to do it, and she's using determining factors to be able to approve of him as a man she would submit. Versus her father, he can use consequences and incentives, like I stated earlier, and force his daughter to submit. But whenever we're talking about relationships, we had to kind of take the daddy-daughter. We have to look at that as a grain of salt, not totally. But whenever it's come down to selecting and evaluating a man that's worth submission, she first need to have respect for herself, because she can end up in a situation where she's submitting to a man that she had no business submitting to. And
All
it
right,
could be
so
a lack of self-respect.
So I think we were.
hold tight. I just want to play this little snippet real quick. Let's make sure we get some other folks involved too. Make sure y'all sharing their mic so we can spread the speaking evenly.
This is nothing compared to what you've done. And not only me, but everybody here. You've taught me so many things. I was 20 years old when we first started dating. You taught me how to be a woman. You taught me how to live. You taught me how to be a friend. You've given me so much in life. And this is not enough. It's not enough I can give you. I just want you to be happy. And every year, I'm just even more in love with you. And I want to spend every day of my life with you. Happy birthday. And I thank God for you every day.
And I would not be the woman I am if I did not go home to that man. You know, we were friends first for a year and a half before we went on any date on the phone for a year and a half. And that foundation is so important in a relationship. And just to have someone that you just like, you know, is so important, and someone that is honest.
All right, go ahead, Naomi.
So what I wanted to say actually goes back to what we were talking about before, as far as submission or self-respect. I think if we're as adults, we look at submission and obedience differently than when we're children. And when we're teaching our children, I'm gonna tell you right now, if I tell my kid, go here, do that, they don't have a choice. They are a child. If they disobey, they get consequences. Chanclas are a real thing, and I'm good at throwing one. Don't play with me. I'm not even, listen, I'm not, but in that, so because I've taught my children obedience, and in that obedience, now comes the submission part when they get older. When they're children, when they're younger, that has laid a foundation for them to now go into society. That my 16-year-old has his own business, yet he's able to submit under certain laws and adhere to certain teachers. My 19-year-old is now being able to submit fluidly underneath her supervisors without a lot of, she knows how to have a boundary, which is why I taught them self-respect before I taught them to walk in the submission, because it comes from obedience. Now that's where the self-respect is most important. And I think if we're going to sit here and try to, as I'm teaching my daughter and I'm teaching my sons as well, that's leading into that. And I don't think that we're sitting here paying attention to being honest about the fact that there are a lot of kids running around right now who don't know obedience, yet they think that they should be respected in society right now. Listen, there are a lot of kids running around with fly mouths where I'm just like, where's your parent? Did they not teach you something? And that is because they lack obedience. Now, when they get older, they will struggle with submission and end up in a lot of situations that are not good for them.
Okay. Bo, I'm gonna come to you, and you can add whatever you want after you answer this question. Should moms raise their daughters to be wives or to be self-sufficient first?
Both. We don't have to pick. We have to stop painting this narrative that women have to pick either being a wife or being independent. You can do both. You can be a whole person and be a wife all at the same time. You can have a career and be a wife all at the same time. We have to start teaching our daughters both, because that's a whole human. She doesn't have to be just a wife unless that's what she chooses. So.
And even then, can she really be a good wife if she doesn't have some amount of self-sustainability? Probably not.
No, so, oh my God. From what I just heard, men have to stop thinking that a lot of men are worthy of submitting to. There are so many men that are not worthy of that. So y'all got to stop acting like women need to submit. You need. Shut your ass up talking to us and go talk to the men that are not worthy of submitting to. Fix that. And maybe we could fix our women, our girls, and tell them that man is worthy of your respect. That one right there. So I think that is fair to do. But Shan, to your point, no, she cannot be a good wife unless she has some sense of independence, some sense of self, because she's going to be a burden on that man if she does not know how to do the things for herself. And I think that men don't understand how much of a burden it is to have a woman to just depend on you for everything. Because that's what it sounds like y'all want.
Go ahead, Shan.
Go ahead.
I agree with what Bo just said. I agree with, I think Kiana was on the same plate. I think you can definitely have both. I just know that y'all need to do something because y'all's girls are submitting to these boys in the bathroom in high school, and they have no self-respect for themselves. I can tell you that much. So whatever the conversation is just not being had. I don't know which one would come first, but I'm gonna tell you what's happening.
Shan, what if one of the men on here said what Bo said? I think she said the men need to stop telling the women that every man gets submission or something like that. I don't know if anybody used that language on this panel today.
It's a little hard to hear you.
That's why I was confused when she said that. I was like, who ran with the narrative that a woman's supposed to just submit?
Oh, you saying what Bo said?
Yeah, because she said we men on here have to stop doing that, and I'm trying to figure out like.
I think she's saying in general in these podcast spaces, men need to stop doing. I don't think she's saying.
Oh, okay. So she projected something on us that was outside of our power. Yeah, okay. So maybe we should stop doing that too. Maybe we should stop projecting things on to people who didn't say it, because their voice is their voice and our voice is our voice, and I think voices are very powerful. But whenever you conflate it and you give us the voice of somebody else, I think it's a mischaracterization, because we want to have the luxury to be able to speak for ourselves in real time, and I think it's respectful whenever you allow us to do that, articulate ourselves without pigeonholing us to a talking point that somebody else regurgitated.
I responded to what I heard. I did. I responded to what I heard on this panel. And then I was talking in general at the same time, simultaneously, because I can do that.
So who said that?
I didn't. Have you heard yourself? Do we need to rewind the tape and see what you said about women submitting?
I can repeat what I said verbatim.
Okay. So then that's what I was talking about.
So you're talking about me. So what did I say?
If you can and every other man that wants women to just arbitrarily submit. We keep talking about women's submission, and we are not talking about men's worthiness of submission. And you want to harp on the fact that I'm talking about someone talking about submission, and you will not address the fact that I'm talking about the men that are not worthy of submission. We have to stop talking so much about women submitting, and we have to start talking to men and making them worthy of submission. You have too many men lost, making up all of these different personalities so that women would be attracted to it. You need to talk to them. You need to stop talking to women. You need to talk to men, because you are a man.
You make a great point, and I hear what you're saying. But what's confusing to me is, and maybe the other ladies on the panel could articulate it. Did y'all hear me say that women need to just based off of my individual perspective that I gave? Did y'all hear me say that women need to arbitrarily submit to men? Or did you hear me say that we need to teach our daughters to prioritize self-respect so that they don't just submit to arbitrarily any men? Like, which one did y'all hear, if y'all could speak? But if y'all gonna let Sister Code restrict y'all, then I understand. But if y'all can speak up from what y'all heard, that will be valuable in this conversation, because she's misquoting me.
I personally didn't hear you say that women need to arbitrarily submit. I didn't hear that.
This retarded ass nigga. So I used the word arbitrarily. Me. I did.
Thank you for clarifying
me.
That
was my word.
You did.
I didn't say you said that. That was my word.
Thank you. So,
but I think that
can we submit to the order? Can we submit to the order? Can we do that?
Go ahead.
There's
Oh,
order up here.
my
I
bad.
think I
Go
was
ahead. I'm
next.
sorry, Hank. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, shout out to submit to the order. I know that's right. So as far as the question, what was your question? I know was you gonna ask each individual a different question? Or was you want me just speak on what was already said, JR?
I got a question I can get
either
you,
one.
man. I got a
Okay,
question I can
cool.
get for you. Give me 1 second.
Right on.
You go ahead and speak to what you want to respond to, and then I'll go ahead and add the question there on the back end of it.
Okay. So Shan, in case you didn't know, these young girls that you're talking about, they had to be taught to be hoes. So you need to go to the house and have a conversation with the mammies, and then you figure out why they love hoes, and they out there sucking D's in the goddamn bathroom. If you want to know why these out there being hoes, they learned it. They learned it from home. Home's your first teacher. We all know this. But go ahead with your question, yeah.
I have to disagree with that. I have to disagree with that because a woman, it may not be as much of a topic, especially in sheltered families. It may not really be that much of a topic. The mother may behave appropriately, the father may behave respectfully, but when she enters school and she gets around somebody she likes, which typically is how it works with women, when you get around somebody you like, they can lead you to do different things, and it can be seen as, oh, I like this guy, so I'll do what he's asking of me. It's not necessarily because the mother didn't was one or the father was one. A lot of times the behaviors that we see in children are learned behaviors from outside of the home.
Yeah, but also you have to be willing to know those type of things are going to go on, and so you got to prepare for it. You have to prepare for everything. You can't just assume your child gonna know better. You got to prepare them. Like I had to teach my son how to put on a condom. Now I wasn't praying, hoping he wouldn't go have premarital sex, but it's a possibility, and so I had to plan and then educate him for that possibility. So no, it starts at home because mom and daddy, the parents should have taught them. If they come up on these type of individuals, steer clear. Don't listen to them. And when they find out that their kids are involved with those type of people, they need to have a conversation. These are people are not people who are what we believe in. Maybe religiously, maybe morally, whatever it may be. But you also need to educate. You can't just let your child go and pray, hope everything turns out the way you would think it should, because it's not.
So both of y'all are right. Both of y'all are right. It can be learned outside, and you got to educate. Saying you got to check it down when they go learn it outside the house. So I think both of y'all are hitting on it. Same point.
Yeah, Jay, I'm still patiently waiting for your question.
Okay, yeah, I had the question ready for you. In your opinion, what should mothers teach daughters first, independence or wife skills?
Shit, you kind of broke up on my answer, RJ.
In your opinion, what should mothers teach daughters first, independence or wife skills?
What should mothers teach the daughters first in life skills?
Independence or wife skills. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, independence or life skills.
Wife skills. Wife.
Yeah, wife skill. I'm sorry. I mean, I guess I can agree with, I think, some of the people. I don't know who actually said it, but I agree with both. You definitely got to teach them both. But hopefully the wife skills are more utilized than just the independent skills. Now, I also believe in maybe teaching your daughter to not be independent. Maybe what we consider, I don't know.
Like self-sufficient?
Not too independent. I mean, yeah, exactly. I don't, because when you teach them that, in my opinion, I'm afraid you're telling your daughter that pretty much you don't need a man. Men are not needed. Men are not. You don't need one at all. You don't need it for nothing. Just you can do everything except. And that's and y'all heard me say it before. I don't believe in that. I believe we need each other. So I'll leave it there.
Hey, look, can I just ask Hank a question?
Yeah,
do you feel like
question?
Hank, Whenever they say independence and wife skill, does it feel like, whenever you answer that question, it's just me maybe, does it feel like they're associating wife skills as a woman who's completely dependent on somebody else? Because I would argue that as a wife, you could still be a wife and have some sort of self-sustainability or stability on your own and still be a wife. But independence, it's like more like a, I don't want to say extreme, but it seems like you're in a position where you don't have any wife skills, and you're completely you don't need a man on a socioeconomic level or romantic level.
I mean, yeah, it does seem like, and hearing some of these ladies' explanation, for sure, it just solidifies what I'm thinking. Now, I don't know. Maybe don't really feel like, maybe it's just, I know a lot of women probably don't feel like that bad, but but for the most part, what I'm hearing up here, it make it sound like that. Like, what I need a man for. And that's why I made the statement of, yeah, I don't want my daughter to be overly independent and think she don't need a man in her life, because I don't like that. Like I said, we need each other. That's how I feel. I don't feel like I want to see my child go through whole life, and now I still got to maintain a coverage at the age of 30 or 40 or whatever the case may be, because she don't have a man in her life, and now I got to continue to go over, help her change her tire, do this, or do repairs around the house, when she should have her husband doing these such skills and things.
All right, I'm gonna have Naomi respond. I know she wanted to, and then we got to get to mistaken. Go ahead, Naomi.
So I wanted to understand your question. Are you asking about independence or self-sufficiency? Because they're
Independence.
Yeah, I was asking about independence. Independence. I asked earlier about the self-sufficient, but
okay. So independence or wife duties?
How to be a wife skills.
Wife skills. So if I have to come down to independence or wife skills, I would choose wife skills over independence. And and if Darwin, if you don't stop interrupting me with your own sound mic. So, and the reason why is because if I teach her independence, then I would have a fear that she would be unable to be interdependent, which is a necessity if she's going to be in a relationship later in life, if that makes sense. So I would teach her wife skills over independence.
okay. Let me get to these super chats real quick, and I got you mistaken. Ikene, $2. The man chooses a woman. The woman accepts the man. Cruise season. What's going on, Trill? How you doing? $9.99. Still to my dog JR. Love the panel, dope conversation. Trill. We also have Ikene, $2. A child respect. Dad voice at 9 months is not fear. Jeffrey became a member. Welcome to the Green Game. Appreciate you, Mr. Jeffrey. Nisha, the good doctor, $4.99. Submission without self-respect is not socialization, it's conditioning. Teach a child to submit first, and they won't know when not to. Naomi gifted one Lapeef Network membership. Thank you, Miss Naomi. Ikene with the $2. If you can't submit, leave him. Don't waste time. Ikene again, $2. Boheme. I have no idea why you like to rebel. And Nisha, the good doctor, $1.99. That's not the current programming. I want to thank everybody that has contributed. All I'm asking for you guys to do is to hit the like button. Let's make sure we get the likes up. Go ahead, Miss Taken. You're on mute, just so you know, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I heard somebody say self-sufficient and independent, and I'm not really sure if that was distinguished, but I would say I think Bo had said this, like, why can't both of those things happen at the same time? The way that I grew up, I had both my parents. I saw my mom do things that, helped in terms of taking care of my dad, but those were also skills that she taught us to learn how to do. So when we went out on our own, we knew how to take care of ourselves. So the submission part was the modeling that came from seeing them interact, and how she was as a wife. But she also taught us independent skills to be able to take care of ourselves, because once we leave our covering at home, we still need to be able to function. So I don't think that those things should occur concurrently. I don't think it needs to be a separate skill, because not everybody may end up married. So the skills that you learn as a wife are also skills that you need to take care of yourself.
I go ahead, True.
Yeah, I'm kind of have to agree with what most are saying. They both set the premise. I would say both. I don't know why we struggle with creating a divide. A wife is a certain conditioning, mindset, and a grooming of sorts. You don't necessarily have to ever marry to have wife-like qualities or wife-like perspective, right? But you should, if you're a caring parent, should provide your children both, but in this case, a daughter, the ability to transition from being single to married because of those life skills and those applicable things. At the same time, a wise parent is also going to equip that child with the ability to sustain individualism in situations in life where the parent can't oversee. You know, like when they're on a college campus, learning how to communicate. These are just life skills. So us dividing it, I don't know why people do that, especially when it comes to women. She should be a whole person, a whole adult. She should come equipped to tackle whatever life has in front of her if she had the proper rearing. And I'll land.
I do want to put another question into play. Nami, go ahead and respond, and I put the question into play.
So I think what we're missing is that you have to be some sort of self-sufficiency in order to be a good, productive wife. You can't actually be one without the other. And you should have being taught wife skills kind of goes along with what True was saying and what Bo had said previously, how you need to be able to have both, because I think we got to be honest, you won't be able to be a wife until you're in that position, because you can't be a wife to everybody, but you can attain wife skills to where you can be seen as a wife, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. The question I want to put into play, and Courtney, to be on you next, sir. Should we raise our daughters to live their best lives? And I'm not talking about being for the streets, but necessary discovering who she is, traveling the world, getting a little bit more culture, figuring out what it is that she likes and what she don't likes. Because if she get into a marriage and she hasn't done so, then she may go astray. How do you guys feel about that? Go ahead, Courtney.
I would say I agree with that, as long as it's within the confinements of being with me while doing it. And the reason I say that is because I'm able to give her a little rope just in case she hangs herself. I'm able to pull her back in, right? Because again, we save our children from them. We protect our children from themselves. We're not doing it to be controlling. That's where a lot of people get this shit fucked up, because they think that, oh, well, I just need to go out there and let them explore the world by themselves. Have we not seen the movie Taken? So, and I'm just using that as an example, right? Just being funny in that aspect. But to be honest, I would rather her experience life with me as my daughter, me taking her on these different experiences and different trips and everything, so she can get some culture and understand life and how the world is working outside of the United States in itself, in other cities and other places. And then we can come back, and then I can also teach her and guide her as well. Because guess what? I'm going to be learning as well as we go into these other countries. So now we're both learning at the same rate, and the things and based on my own personal experiences. So I think, I do agree with that, as long as she's doing it within the confinements of her parents.
I got you, Bo. I'm coming to you. I just want to add on to her getting into her career, because we know how high the divorce rate is. And we've seen how a lot of women, once they are divorced, they don't know what to do. They haven't been able to discover who they are because their whole life depended on that male. So I also want to add that into the play with this question as far as her learning herself, her getting her own identity. So in an event that something happens, she won't hit rock bottom. Go ahead, Bo.
Um, so I think that we have seen in real time, I mean, if you pay attention, what it could look like, what it has looked like when people don't like get to experience life for themselves, don't figure out who they are, don't have any fun, don't do anything before getting a partner. I think that we teach boys to go out and sow their royal oats before they get married, but we teach our daughters to save it till marriage. And so then you got women who get older who might marry young, and then if a divorce happens, now she for the street. Cause she ain't never had any type of experience with anything with that man, or she left that man because she ain't never had no, like, we gotta let people live the lives that they need to live. Some people just need to experience life. And I'm not talking about like, you know, partners. I'm not talking about like sexual partners. I'm talking about just life in general. We have to let people know what it's like to be by themselves, because then you get this wife that is dependent on you, like socially, that she needs to, like, she's attached to you, she's in your skin because she doesn't know how to be by herself, she doesn't know who she is by herself. You need a woman like that. So you can do both. You can be independent, you can know who you are, and you can also be a very great wife that settles in and is perfectly happy just being a wife because she knows about life outside of you.
Can I chime in here? You know I love you, Bo. I nothing but love for you. And before this moment, because I used to hear this as a kid, right? And it's interesting now that I'm older. I used to hear people who come from broken backgrounds always have this same type of narrative. They say that if you raise your child right, when they get out, they're going to wild out because they don't know anything else. I think that sometimes we as a community don't have enough positive experiences to know that to not be true. Because most children, when they're surrounded, and when I'm talking truly, not this broken households, not these baby mamas, I'm talking like tribes, like the actual family unit where they got uncles and aunts and things that are healthy, not this dysfunctional crap, right? Or dysfunctional. And sometimes I think that we give too much credit to where an individual person needs all of these experiences to develop into oneself, to know that this is good because I had a bunch of bad. That's ass backwards, as my mother would say, because it's not true. Typically, when you do your job correctly and you submerge your child in an environment where they're protected and you did your job again correctly, there's no need to experience the adverse of what's good. And we always do this. Like, I've heard this a lot, especially when it comes to girls. If she has a good man, she in somehow, some way that doesn't work out, now she needs to go experience it. She's only had vanilla sex, then she needs to know what it's like to have her head put through the mattress. I don't believe that to be true, only because I've seen it. I've seen it in environments, in young ladies that, and men will tell you this. We know who you can't touch. We know who you can't smut out. Because when you meet her, she comes to you differently. You can't just take her out on a date. She won't even entertain it because there's too many layers of protection. But I agree with you to the standpoint that we should have experiences. I just disagree where it always has to be, I guess, the negative side of it in order for the good to balance. Or maybe that's not what you said, but that's what I heard. So
No, I respect that that's what you heard. That's not what I was saying at all. I wasn't saying like we need to go through bad to get to the good. I wasn't talking about that at all. I'm just talking about experiencing life. I'm just talking about like living life. Cause I was that person. I was that kid that was sheltered. I didn't get exposed to nothing. I didn't watch Boys in the Hood till I was in my mid-20s. I didn't get to watch any of those movies, right? So like I wasn't really exposed to, I didn't get to go out. I didn't get to hang out with my friends. I never went to a sleepover. And we know what I did after high school. So let me tell you something. While your children are in your, because I was mishearing Courtney at first when he was saying that, and I was like, I was half listening, and then I caught on to what he was saying, and I was like, what? And he wasn't saying what I thought he was saying. I understand him now. While your children are still in your presence and you still have influence over their life, you need to allow them to go further than your eyes view so that you can control the things, right? Let them go and experience life just a little bit, because you can still control, you can still navigate, you can still direct, right? So it doesn't have to be bad, but they do have to see something, because they're going to get somewhere and act like they ain't never been nowhere. I can attest to that. Please let your kids live this life a little bit. So then when they get married, like when I got married, I was cool. I had done it all. Don't worry about it. I'm cool. I'm sitting my ass down. I never cheated. I never did none of that, because I got to experience life. And I'm not talking about bad things. So I was very content in my marriage. I would never, like, if we didn't have the problems that we had, I would never have left. I wanted to be bored with life. Like, we need to get them to a point where they're just kind of like content with being there. That's all I was saying.
All right, go ahead, Dar.
All right, so I think where you left off is, do I get to answer the question about raising them to be independent or wife skills? Or should I just go to the other one?
Yeah, you just go to the other question as far as just upbringing. Like, basically, should she live her life before getting married? You know, should she experience life to the point where she can get a little bit in her career in the event that she gets a divorce? She can discover what it is that she likes, who she is, like outside of someone.
I mean, if that's the option she want to take, then sure. But what I'm going to teach her is to rely on me, her father, until she become a wife. So all this independent stuff, that's just not what I'm for. I'm going to teach her how to be a wife. I know that I understand that society by default is going to teach her to be independent. So I don't even need to concern myself with that. We live in a capitalist society. Consumerism is a skyrocket. It's just going to push women into to working to the workforce by default. So I think I'm going to put most of my bandwidth into teaching her wife skills and teaching her how to be dependent on me until the transfer of covering from my arms to her husband. So she can go work a job, she can do whatever she wants. But as far as her covering, protection, and all that stuff, I'm gonna maintain that for life until she get away. It don't matter. There's no such thing as, oh, now you're 18. Nah, I'm here. Daddy's here. You can always come home. You always have a place right here. I'm gonna cover you until you find a husband. You don't have to go find a house and pay a mortgage and none of that stuff. I'm gonna be right here with you walking. I'm gonna be your shadow and your shield for you. And as far as the dilemma that women face, the nuance women face of being married for so long, and then when they get out of the marriage, they don't have any skills, they don't have education, and they might be out on the streets or stranded. I understand that happens, but I would say the precaution that every woman should take, irregardless if you have a father that's going to be in your shadows, is to sign a premarital agreement. And when people hear me say premarital agreement, the first thing they think is protecting a man. But that just showed a lack of education and ignorance on their behalf, because premarital agreements set things in tone whenever the event of a divorce. And one of the examples is one of my clients set up a premarital agreement for his wife and been married for 30 years now. And they married out of high school. She don't have any skills, none of that. But the premarital agreement is if in case of a divorce, he is to put her through academic college, put her through college, set up her business. That's part of the premarital agreement in the event of a divorce. So the issue with her being stranded with no skills and can't work is not even a factor. If I divorce you or you divorce me, I'm gonna make sure I put you through college so you get the necessary skills to be self-sustained. So people got this just pigeonhole on premarital agreements that protect a man's asset. No, you can put things in there to dictate how you want to determine the future going forward after y'all divorce. So it's just a matter of just being informed and educated on that. So when people find themselves in that situation, that's just a lack of education on their behalf and a lack of education on their parents' behalf. That's giving them the approval to get into a marriage in the first place.
Dara, I just got one quick question for you. So if your daughter rebels against what it is that you have set up for her, so say she's 18, let's say she's 19 years old and she's feeling herself and she's been up under your covenant. She doesn't want to be there, so she's doing whatever it is that she wants to do. How are you going to respond to that?
I mean, it's just a grown adult. It's really not, all I can do is plead with her to get her and try to understand why she want to do that, and then weigh the pros and cons from there. And if she want to continue to go that route after we've weighed the pros and cons, all I can do is be there like I think the father in the story in the Bible. What it was, the prodigal son thing, where I think his son returned after going through these trials and errors and mistakes. All I can do is be there as an open arm, as a father should, in my opinion, to be there to welcome back whenever she get her cuts and bruises. Because there's only so much I can do, with a grown adult who had their own autonomy. But as long as she know that, hey, look, I'm gonna be here regardless. I don't approve of you going that route. I'm gonna be here for you and love on you whenever you come back.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and try to put this Share 7 video into play. I know we've been speaking about the positive side, but let's go ahead and look into another POV, and then we'll go ahead and continue the conversation. We'll go ahead and start with Naomi after this one and continue the list. And I'll start adding some more names in there, so just pay attention to the list. I'm just trying to make sure everybody talk evenly. Get to the super chats before we do. Willie, MF and Bean, $2. Shout out to the panel. Hashtag no hyenas. Riri 74, a member. She gifted 1 Lapeef Network membership. Thank you, Miss Riri. Appreciate you, ma'am. Official Mama G, Naomi, also gifted another Lapeef Network membership. Thank you, ma'am. Bruiser with the $5. Society will teach your daughter to be independent. No need to touch that. Teach her how to be a wife. Nisha, the good doctor, 199. Raising twins, boy and a girl. Different things. You a girl. An official Mama G, also a member with the $4.99 super sticker. Thank you, ma'am. Again, if you haven't already, hit the like button. That's all I'm asking. I appreciate the memberships and the donation. Let's go ahead and keep this show going. Let's go ahead and get a little ratchet.
Recently dating a rich 29-year-old. He's been taking you to expensive dinners, $500 plus. How do I get him to spend personally? He wants to take me on vacation. Okay, so he's using you and enjoying your company, and he's spending money on you and him.
Nothing's wrong with that.
So you can't count that as money spent on you. It's $0 has been spent on you. 0.
What?
You've gotten free food. Okay.
Oh, so money is being spent on you.
Your arm candy and dinner company. You're not benefiting directly from this man. So since he wants to go on vacation with you, you need a long list of financial obstacles in your way, keeping you from saying, yes, I can go on vacation with you. This is how you get the money. Okay. So make you a long list of all the things that you need to get checked off before you can get on a plane.
Go work.
To go on vacation. Okay. The first thing on the list is you need all your bills paid up for the month or 2. And always double and triple it. You need expenses to hire someone to care for Aunt Ethel while you're gone. Okay. The next thing you need is to board the dogs that Aunt Ethel has He probably know you ain't got no dogs if you don't have no dog. But you need the money to board or hire a dog sitter or walker for the dogs that Aunt Ethel has, because that's what you normally do.
All right, that's part one. I'll play part two shortly. But what you thinking about that so far, Miss Naomi?
All right, so me personally, I do not like this woman. So if I answer, I'm going to answer biasly. So if you'd like, I can hold it in and then you can come back to me. But I don't like what she teaches young ladies. She teaches them how to use men, you know, and that I don't like it. What
But
she's doing
would it
right
work?
now, you
Would it
said
work?
what?
What she's trying to, what the application she's trying to get a woman, would it actually be effective?
It actually, so for some young ladies, it does work. But all it's doing is preparing a young woman to see a man and what he can provide financially. That's it.
That's the goal.
That's not a goal.
Actually, it is the goal with the audience she's speaking to. That is the goal.
You know what? You are correct. You are correct. The women who go to her want to know how they can get as much as money as they can out of men and not have to commit to them. So I will give you that. You're correct in that sense.
Thank you.
So I digress. Me personally, I don't agree with it in any way, shape, or form, because what's going to happen when this young woman is now gotten to a point where he's noticing that, and then he's like, you know what? Nah, I'm not giving you no more money. In about a year, she's going to end up slutting herself out to another man. And then what's going to happen next? She's going to slut herself out to another man.
Yeah, that's how it works. You go to the next man.
That's literally all she's teaching young women to do, just how to slut themselves out legally. So I'll land there.
All right, go ahead, Shan. We just think about what Miss Shara 7 had to say. And also, too, I know one of the first things that Kelly Rowland mentioned in the first video was to be careful who you're getting advice from. But go ahead, Shan.
I think she's hilarious. It's comedy, entertainment, funny. Like, I mean, obviously the women aren't doing this because there's a lot of men who ain't got money who's still getting women pregnant. So I said a lot of women. But I will agree that she does have an audience, right? I don't think it's the mass majority of women, because most women don't even have access to those types of men. You have to look a certain kind of way. There's a certain look that they go for. You have to present like everything about you. So I don't think that they can go for it. I don't think they'll be successful at it, to be honest. But for me, I just think it's comedy. I don't give her much. I don't follow her, so, but she has popped up on my timeline a couple of times, and I've seen her through podcasts, and I just think she's funny. I don't, you know.
The things that were said, and an average man can do that.
You mean
I'm making 55.
So let me ask you a question.
I can pay for a dog sitter.
So let's so let me ask you a question. Would she be the equivalent to men saying, "Oh, some women are just bang them and leave"? Wouldn't she be the equivalent?
She's the polar opposite of tricking men tricking on
women. So
women.
we know that those people are out here in the dating market. Both men, you know.
Yeah, they're out there. Yep, there's an audience for everything.
Right. So I basically gotta look at her just like I look at them.
You gotta look at it the same way. It's an audience for everybody. So like if I'm a content creator that pushing tricking, I'm gonna attract the audience of how where's the landscape at? Where can we target more women who are open to throwing that box out for the dollar? And I mean, I think what we're doing is when we try to answer this, we're trying to put our own individual morals into it. But when somebody like Shara 7, you got to take that out of it and look at the overall outcome of the audience. What is the desired outcome of the women? They want to get to the bag. They don't care about none of that other religious, holier than thou stuff. They want to get to the man's money, and she know the playbook, and she's been very effective with it.
Yep.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Taken.
I don't even know how to speak to that because that's so unrealistic for majority of women and men to be tricking on women like that. Yeah, so this is the first time you'll hear me not have anything to say.
Y'all ain't been out in the streets. That's what that means. I'm telling you, bro, like all the way from the E1 paycheck all the way up to E5 in the military. These guys is out here going out in the streets and they participating in this stuff y'all think that don't exist.
No, I didn't say that it didn't exist. I said the majority of men are not in a position to do that, and the majority of women aren't moving like that. Like you said, oh, an average man can do that. An average man cannot pay for a kennel to take care of dog, pay thousands of dollars to take care of aunt, whoever she said, in addition to paying for the trip, in addition to all of the other things that she named. You're spending thousands before you even get to the trip part based on what she was saying. So the average person do not have it like that.
But didn't she?
Like I said, the audience that she's referring to are men who have that kind of money. But the average men do not have that kind of money. The average person, I'm speaking in America, the average American man do not have that level of financial resources to do all of those things.
And doesn't she mostly talk to like young girls, talking to, telling them to get older men? Is that not right?
She's talking. Well, see, the thing about her is the average man is not a factor. It's not a hindrance, because Shara 7 and these group of women have developed a very effective targeting system to figure out who can get extra to do it. So the average man has never been like a factor. It's just, what do you want? What do you want? And it's not a matter of his income. It's a matter of what he's been able to do. Because now we got to throw in the fact that the lifestyle the average man lives, or whether he's living paycheck to paycheck. He's capable. It depends on if he's financially literate and responsible. But he's more than capable to be able to pay for a kennel. And these women have a very effective targeting system to figure out who can do it.
So what you're saying is, even though she's talking about a specific financial level of men, you're saying in general, average men can do that too, but just at the level of their finances.
Right. They can do it, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think she's preaching. If I know anything about her from what I've heard the times, and I could because I don't follow her enough, I thought that she promotes going after a certain type of man, not average men.
No, it's the archetype of man is not necessary. It's the money. If a man that makes $55,000 is financially literate enough to save up 10 grand, and a woman find out he got 10 grand, she want to go to Shara 7 and figure, how can I get this 10 grand from this average earning man? She gonna give her a playbook how to get it. She's not gonna say, no, leave him alone. Target the guys that are 250,000. Let's play fair. No, they don't give a fuck about fair. They gonna target a man who at the bottom and a man at the top. If you got money hanging out, they gonna try to get to it.
Okay, hold on. Let me check on Kiana. Kiana, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I just had some weird feedback that I was trying to reset.
You're breaking up, Kiana.
Oh, Kiana?
You're breaking up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, hold on. I want you to do me a favor. Turn your Wi-Fi off if you are connected to the Wi-Fi. If you are not connected to the Wi-Fi, then turn that on. Let's see if we can get to the opposite of that.
I just think that her audience is fooling themselves if they think that they have that power. Most women are average. You're not that chick who that's my personal, you can sit in there in the chat be like, oh, I'm gonna get this. You're not. You're probably not.
All right, Kiana, can you hear me?
Yeah, but Shan, there's a growth of incels and
hold on, I'm trying
all
to
that stuff.
troubleshoot Kiana real quick. Kiana, you there? Let me just play the second part of the video, and then we'll go ahead and get back into it.
While you're in town. So you're going to need a list of expenses that he has to cover. And he's going to be like, well, how much is all this going to cost? And so you can go with me. And you're going to give him that money, then you're going to give him that sum. And when he deposits that in your bank account, Then you're like, okay, well, thank you so much. That's going to relieve a lot of my stress. Now I can focus on the vacation and truly enjoy it. Thank you so much. Then say, I'm going to pack my nicest clothes, all my designer. Don't pack nothing in that suitcase or pack a bunch of stuff that you don't want, or pretend like you pack stuff and then leave it slightly unzipped. Carry all your valuables on the plane. And then when you get to the luggage and you pick it up, it's going to look like someone stole all your stuff, and he's going to have to take you shopping. Okay. So when he has to take you shopping, you're going to be so sad because you lost all your nice items, your designer.
That's crazy.
You're going to be crying. You're going to be sad. Now, ain't nothing worse than going on vacation with a woman who's sad, crying, doesn't have any clothes to wear. What is he going to have to do? He's going to have to step up and take you shopping at nice places. So that's how you're going to get your money. That's how you're going to get a shopping spree. And that's how you're going to get what you deserve. Rather than just some free food and be somebody's arm candy. You're going to flip the script and get this money. Okay?
Go ahead, Kiana.
This is definitely a certain kind of man she's talking about. Has to be.
Go ahead, Kiana.
I think it's interesting because it's clear who the audience is. This is not which is interesting because Shira is married. She's a married woman. So I think that's obviously letting you know that this is probably a grift of some sort that she's using for entertainment purposes. Because how are you a married woman claiming this is what you do when you have a whole husband?
But I think her husband, she talks about him. Like, that's why I stopped. I was like, because she was going off on him. One time he walked in and she said something I felt was very disrespectful. Is my understanding he's a lot older than her, and she talks about him like disrespectfully.
How you think she got him?
I mean, they must be on the same page at least. I mean, because I'm guessing she wouldn't be with him if he wasn't doing the things that she claims is happening for her, right? Unless, again, it's a grift and she's using it for entertainment purposes and she knows there's a market that she can sell that concept on. So either that's her husband that she's speaking about and has the experience, or she's a grifter.
Connect the dots. A very old man and her.
So last year, she was on live. So I'm not sure if you guys know, but last year she was on live and she was speaking about him, and he came in and interrupted the live, and he said, "If you continue, I will divorce you." Like, it was a whole thing. And then she was off of social media for about a month before she came back in, and she had to start rewording a lot of the things that she said before. And a lot of people, there are so many snippets of the argument that ended up happening because she was live and she walked away from the phone, and you can hear him in the background, like, "I'm going to cut your card," and I mean, all kinds of things. And it was because he had walked in on her talking about him in that disrespectful manner.
Yeah, but
it's real disrespectful to him.
Is it effective though? Is the thing she's teaching, is it effective? Like, do you think women can pull that off?
There are
Yes,
some women
who can pull that off.
There are some women who can. If they look a certain way and they're young enough, they can. And that's the demographic that she usually is speaking to a lot.
I mean, I don't know why we would assume that that's not.
Though. You're saying women can pull that off. I think there are women that do that and men that engage in those type of women, but I don't think the women are tricking them into doing it. I think the men are fully aware of what it is that they're doing and they're okay with it, so they do it.
I mean, strippers exist for a reason. There are some strippers who have designer everything, and there are a lot of men that, I mean, and some of them even have wives.
Man, these women, I don't like how you paint women.
I don't think the women are tricking men. The men are fully aware of what they're doing. It's a relationship that they've established, and they understand what it is.
How I'm supposed to know that you lost your clothes?
So, like,
I'm supposed to.
Yeah, okay, I mean, those statements that she's making,
one mic.
They seem highly manipulative. Like, as Miss Taken was saying, if you have some sort of arrangement or something, and you deal with the guy, and the guy takes care of you, that's not tricking him to anything. That's two consensual choices saying, hey, we'll do this way. It's an arrangement. But what she's saying, yeah, that is trickery, and that's very highly manipulative. I mean, we see in places that there are chicks who do shady things like that, but I don't think the majority are probably even needing to do that. They just find guys that are willing to make that arrangement with them.
That's what.
I think she's appealing to literally people who are scam artists, really.
All right, let's go ahead and get Bo, Courtney, True, and Hank in there. Go ahead.
First things first, strippers are are doing their job, and the men know exactly what their job are, so they have no mention in this whole conversation. But I will say what she is doing is grifting. She does not live the life that she is telling other women to live. She's literally in it to make money. That is it. That is all. She is teaching these women a dangerous, dangerous game. Now, in the same way that I am going to tell men that women should not be completely dependent on them because they will be susceptible to a man's abuse, not saying all or most, just saying that it happens. I am saying too that she is also subjecting these women to abuse, because if this whole, I mean, you lost all of your things and now he has to buy you all of these things again because, oh my God, you're so sad that you lost your, shut your stupid ass up. Because once that man figures out that she lied to him and he spent all that money on her for absolutely no reason, she is going to be open to abuse, because a lot of men are not going to take nice to that. Men don't play about their money. People don't play about their money in general. Don't play that game. You are putting women in harm's way, especially since she is talking about a certain demographic of men, a certain tax bracket of men. And one, those men are mean as hell. So does she teach you how to deal with that? Does she teach you that the men that they are going to be using can do all kinds of things to them? This is why I think that women should be taught independence, because you're going to go out and get it on your own. You are going to be able to like a man because he's a man and you want to be with him, rather than using him for money, because I can guarantee you, them men with money that's going to give it to you, they're going to make you do something for it. Does she teach you that? Now, it does look like her mouth looked like she had a whole bag of dicks in it. So she might be able to teach you something like that. So, and she going to have to. You're going to have to learn that skill, because you're going to have to earn that money, baby. So I think that it's dumb. I've never heard this lady talk. I've never even seen her face. And boy, does it look like she got a bag of dick stuff off in there. Don't listen to this lady. She's stupid. She just as stupid as all of these other red pill dumbass men.
All right, go ahead, Courtney.
All right, so I do believe that she is very manipulative. And I'm also going to say, and let me go ahead and preface it by saying this. We're not talking about the extreme side of it, but this is what Red Pill was based on. Staying away from women like this, having dignity for yourself, and having standards as a man, and not just falling for a pretty face and a nice ass. That's what it was. Of course, you got a lot of these individuals now, they're doing all the extreme shit. Fuck these hoes, just fuck the bitches, get money. We ain't talking about that. We talking about having standards for yourself. And that's why we call certain men simps and shit, right? And so in this aspect right here, like y'all said, because I don't know much about this, my first time ever seeing her. So y'all saying that she's a grifter. So if she's out here throwing out false narratives and she's being deceitful to women, that's definitely a danger to women. Because again, if a lot of women say that men are very dangerous, this is the same woman that's putting them in that same space and environment to get fucked up, because they don't know these type of men, and especially if they got money, like Bo said. So that's a very bad way to go about it if you're just trying to get money out of people. And I'll yield.
All right, go ahead, Hank. No, true. Sorry.
I'm loving both energy today. Because the bag of dicks, that's hilarious. Yeah, the Shira, this lady can't be taken seriously. I think she is one of those people who write the kind of like the people who write those novels, like of the extreme, sex and the exchange of sorts. And then if you look at those people who write those novels, they typically are very unattractive, and for God's sakes, they are not having the type of passion that they put on script, right? So that's how I kind of look at her. At the same token, see, this is where I think some women think men are stupid, and we're not. There's a lot of guys. It's not a tax bracket thing. I think that's the one thing I do agree with Darwin. It's not a tax bracket thing. Dudes utilize tools just like women utilize tools. So just like woman knows she walk outside in a bodysuit and certain heels and she put herself together, she's going to get a certain level of attention. Men are no different. If I want to eliminate the lag time between getting this girl's attention, I may incentivize that attention. I may distract her. And what we also know is when we do this, we know what type of woman we're dealing with. I think Courtney said something earlier, which I agree with. If you raise your daughter to be introduced to good treatment, good living, good lifestyle, then it's harder to bait a woman like that. But typically, if you come at a woman and you're like, yo, I'll do this and I'll do that, she tell you about her cell phone bill needing to be paid, and you jump on it to willing to solve her life's issues, and she bites, we already know, oh, she a bopper. This chick is simple, because that's impressive to you. Like, it's sad that they think we're dumb, but we're not. And what happens is that I heard a guy talk about this named Sharp some time ago when that girl Blue Jasmine was talking about, getting taken care of and so on and so forth. He said, if you were a smart woman, you would get the business. If you're going to deal with a man, go into it getting something that's actually tangible, not just the experience, not just the vacation, not just a bill being paid. That's trinkets to any man, because realistically, if you're going to deal with a woman any length of time, you're talking long term, you're going to spend money. This just comes with it. It's baked into the system, right? So if you dumb heifers think that him buying you a bag or him taking you on a date or, girl, I got him to buy me, a wig. Okay, you think y'all playing each other and he's cool with the exchange. Trust me, they talk about it. But it's very different when a man is looking to pursue you, because he's not going to show his hand like that. And if a woman is smart, she would be able to depict a man of quality compared to, he may play the trick and he's not a trick. And I'll land.
Go ahead, Hank.
Yeah. The words that are being used today, god damn. Mouthful of dicks. True saying heifer. I know that's right. God damn. Man out my own heart. I agree with that. But I think both said it earlier, and I agree with that part, was this is dangerous. It's very dangerous. It's not funny, Shane. It's not entertaining. It shouldn't be for a good purpose. It shouldn't. Because this woman is setting these other women up for failure. You got a lot of slow women who will actually believe everything she's saying is right, and they should actually go out and do these things. And they're not going to get the results they think that they're going to get. Because once that man figures out that he's being taken advantage of, there's going to be hell to pay. There's going to be hell to pay. And she may not like the hell that's going to be coming her way when it does. So no, ladies, don't buy into this. Don't do this. Don't think this okay and think you're going to get away with it. Or if you have got away with it, don't think it's going to be a continuous thing. Don't. You might get away with it on the one-off, maybe a second, but if you keep doing it, you might not like the results that you're going to get. So I would definitely recommend ladies not do this bullshit that she's talking about, taking advantage of the man, using the man, and like I said, doing those things. It's not cool. It's not cool. So just be careful, ladies. And I think like Kelly Rowland saying, you can't listen to everybody. That's a fact. I'll leave it there.
But Hank, can I have a bone to pick with you? Because oftentimes
sure
you be
do.
saying, use these hoes. I'm going to use these hoes. But when it's the other way around, You should. It just, you know, I think that nobody should be using anybody. Men shouldn't use women. Women shouldn't use men. How about that?
Yeah, I don't consider a hoe a woman. I consider a hoe a low life of the scum of the earth. That's what I consider a hoe. There's other people that I choose not to throw in there, a part of the scum of the earth. But I should not name them alphabet community people. So that's a different conversation. I think weak dudes are scum of the earth. So don't feel like the hoes are all in one that I think are scum of. There's a lot of people I think are scum of the earth.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So don't feel like I said you use these hoes. You take advantage of these hoes because the hoes don't mean shit. Now, these women who are consider themselves good women, I wouldn't recommend them listen to the women like that. But if you can find a trick that's okay with that, man, use and abuse them. Shout out to Bill Weathers. Use them up. But if you find a man that's not with that shit, you better leave him alone. You won't like the outcome.
Here between the wash and dry, that's what's gonna happen.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Taken.
I already spoke to her. Remember, I said I didn't have much to say.
Oh yeah, that was the second part of the video. I didn't know if y'all wanted to.
Mistaken is speechless. That's one for the.
You said she's speechless. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and just the last video I'm gonna play on this, but Kelly Rowland was asked about her current husband. That's what she had to say. Just want to get you guys' thoughts on what she said.
Your husband, your partner. I've watched so many of your interviews, and you often call him. He's such a G.
He is a
He's
G.
such a G. You said that.
G.
Just like a soldier, if you will, right?
Yes.
It takes, and I mean, he has an incredible career as a music executive, so incredible career in his own right.
Yeah.
It takes an incredibly secure and a G, a real man, to be with someone who is famous and so well known. How did you know that he was your person?
Oh, it scared me when I realized he was my person. It was a feeling of safety that I'd never felt from a man before. Like, of not wanting anything from me, but just to see me be great. He also pushes me outside of my comfort zone and doesn't allow me to get like complacent. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always somewhere to grow and be better. And I see the same thing in him. Like, his possibilities are just infinite. He's so smart and beyond creative, and I respect him. I respect him a great deal. It's not saying like every day is like peaches and cream, because it's not. Like, we're constantly in this flow of loving each other and figuring some things out as we're evolving as people. You know what I mean? As husband and wife, as man and woman, and, you know, people in this world. I just, he's a G. He's just a G.
He's your G. I love it. And I read that he knew on the first date that you were going to be his wife.
Oh, he said that?
I read this. I read that he knew. And I also read that it didn't take you too long to know, or at least have that thought like, oh my God, could this be my husband? Is that accurate?
No, it freaked me out. Cause like, I remember watching someone say their vows and I go, oof, like, that's a lot. Like, this is me like listening to it in my 20s going, oh, that's weighted, man. You know what I mean? Like, thinking that. And then, when I finally was able to say it to him, I could like keep myself together. You know what I mean? It was like in the sweetest way, cause I respect it so much, you know? But yeah, he's a G.
Head over to YouTube, subscribe.
All right, before I get into what she said, she mentioned to her husband about a husband that he knew on a first date. So I'm just gonna ask the men, and I'm pretty sure the women want to know this question, but do men really know on the first date or early on if she's the one that he wants to marry?
Yep.
You think so?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and elaborate.
Well, I'm an advocate for it because that's what I did. You know what I'm saying? So I knew right out the gate what it was. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what type of woman I didn't want. Right. And so when she displayed all those characters in which that checked the list, I was like, oh yeah, it's game on. I didn't need 2 to 3 years to know the type of woman that I was getting into it with. Right. Now, mind you, that also came with, me being in the streets a little bit too. But but understanding the type of woman that I wanted. And I put myself in the space as well, and I was doing the things that I needed to do. So I do believe that men do know what they want. Now, again, that's just me. That's just me. I know some men, it takes time for them to, really pay attention to the woman that they're dealing with. There's certain things they need to check off. But I do think it's more common than it is not, that a lot of men will get married within the year.
Okay, now, I did want to ask some more follow-up questions just to give a little more context, because every man's situation and background is different. You mentioned that you were in the streets. So how did that play into you choosing the one that you have now? Like, what was it that she presented for you, and what was it that you needed because you were in the streets?
Well, I think it's also, because I also came out of the military too. And so, and being in college and everything like that as well, I've dealt with many different women as well. And also being able to have that family dynamic at home, I also saw what it was like for a woman to be a wife, right? And so how she treated her husband, my father, and being able to see that and seeing the different women that I've dealt with and how they didn't display certain things. It's like, all right, you're not the wife type. So I already categorize you in this area, in this space.
I think it's very important to mention that you had some experience with plenty of women, and then you was like, okay, this is what it is that I'm looking for. So you got to be careful with that, because when people hear what you initially said, they would think that if a man meets a woman that exhibit certain qualities, he's going to automatically know. You have to get some experience first to figure out what it was that you didn't like and what you did like.
No? Well, I wouldn't say that necessarily though, because I already had the foundation from my parents to know what it is. Now, with dating these women, with dating certain other women, because it's not just laying them down and getting a box, nothing like that. But it's just interacting with a lot of different women and understanding the type of qualities that they display. It's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with her. I'm good on that. So it's not on that aspect of I'm dating these women 2 to 3 years. And it's just interacting with these different women and understanding their thought processes and how they move and how they operate. We're able to observe that. It's like, nah, I don't even want to deal with that. So that's what I mean by that. So, yeah.
Okay, so if you had the foundation, then what took you so long?
Being in the right space. Because again,
what does that mean?
So being in the right space. So I'll give you an example, right? Going to college, being around a lot of different women, right? A lot of the women that I've interacted with, they didn't display those type of characters. But as I grew as a man and learned, and then I had the experience going into the military as well, being in different areas, I found my woman when I rooted out here in Arizona. I found my woman out here because I put myself in a certain space, and I found that woman who displayed the same qualities. And so that's when I knew, when everything was checking off, I said, okay, so this is the one. And boom, I knew right out the gate what it was. So it's also a feeling as well, but it's also understanding the checking off the box too.
All right, True, what you want to add to this as far as men knowing immediately if she's a wife for him or not?
I think it's BS. I think we say it because it sounds good, and it's definitely gonna depend on the man. And I think women typically do ask this question because they want to get like the blueprint or the G14 classified secret, like, oh, how do I know? I believe as a man, you just make a choice. If that woman that's in front of you and you're in the space to where you're seeking to be married, she just may be the one that you choose. I don't think that it's typically like you meet her and then, something shifts. I think he's already in that mindset of wanting to acquire a wife. This is my just outlook and opinion on it. And I think Courtney even said something to it without him maybe realizing he exposed it. She showcased something that had hit the alarm go off, or the notification of what he was already seeking go off. She had to show. And sometimes I think that's where the disconnect is. In the dating exchange, a lot of women don't want to expose what they bring, like the mindset. They want to put it behind a 90-day or 6-month or whatever time frame, instead of just being their awesome self and showcase of what it is that they can bring to your life as far as value is concerned. But yeah, I don't think that men actively are just like, oh, I knew immediately. I think that that's nonsense. And it could be terrible based on that man, but I think he's already in a space to where he thinks that she just so happens to be there, whatever value she presents, and then he executes on his already made choice. That's what I think.
But wouldn't that kind of speak to what I also said though, True, in regards to if I'm already in the headspace, so I already know what I want, so it shouldn't take me 2 years, because if it takes me longer than 2 to 3 years, that means I'm not in that headspace, or I'm not seeking what it is that I'm actually looking for.
Well,
wouldn't it speak to that?
Yeah, that's why I said it's BS. Because of the fact that it's phrased that it shouldn't take a man 2 years, like you said, right? This is what we're telling women. It shouldn't take a man 2 years, but that's not necessarily true. It's predicated on that man's appetite and desire at that stage in his life. So basically, when he's operating from, okay, I'm ready to acquire a wife, he may not tell nobody that, but he knows internally. The woman he meets, she's a candidate for that. And so if she just so happens to be what is enough, he just executes on it. So it wouldn't take 2 years because he's already actively walking through life every day with this mindset. That's what I'm saying, is like people bad it because they're trying to make it seem like if he has you around 4 years, he doesn't want to marry you. That's not necessarily true either. He just hasn't decided that he wants to be married. That's what I'm saying.
So that makes him indecisive though.
Not necessarily. I don't know if it makes him indecisive. I think that no matter what, you can't move a man's mindset to where he doesn't want to be. Like,
well, I mean, you already know. I mean, us instinctively, we already know if we want to be married or not, even in the younger ages. We know if we want children. We know if we want kids. We already know that in the back of our head. Now, that time frame can change. We may say, listen, I want to have kids and the children by the age of 22. However, that may end up being the age of 36. Just because of life be life sometimes. So in that aspect, sometimes it happens for people in the luck aspect of it, like, okay, I wasn't really looking for it, but this shorty, everything, the stars align, and boom, this was it. So it happened at the age of 26. But if I'm being intentional and I know what it is that I'm looking for, if I already understand, like, listen, bro, I want to get married. I already know the type of woman that I want. And when I'm out here in these streets, even if I'm out here in these streets, if I'm dating, I know these type of women that I don't want to be with. But now that I know this woman who's displaying everything that I already see because of the foundation that I had before with my parents, it's like, I know what I want. Now it shouldn't take me 2 years. And so that's why I'm saying, like, so no, you're right too. I'm not saying that you're right as well, but also this also can be true as well. Like I can know within a month, 2 to 3 months if I want to marry this person or not. It's just taking the action on, okay, so let's go ahead and get married. Let's make it happen. So I do understand what you're saying, though. I get it.
All right.
Who got next?
Any other gentlemen want to add on to it?
Yeah, I'll add on to it. In my opinion, it's a multitude of factors, but just to be precise, it's critical that I think the critical piece is whether a man can see the woman with somebody else, or he can continue to live life without her, or the idea that she might be touching and loving and being intimate or connecting with somebody and building a family with her. Because once you find a woman, there's some things that come into play. The physical attraction. I know I would marry her based off the physical attraction. She checks that. The emotional connection, the communication, the economic compatibility. She check all those blocks. That's one thing. But the critical thing is, do I want to get out of the game? Yes, she's a wife. I've run into many women that checked it. I still want to play the field, so I won't get married at that point. But if I decide to, she's right here at the right time and right place, so she's probably going to get the ring. And then there's another factor. If you're waiting so long, because this is whenever we were young, I think Courtney probably was the same age as me when he got married in his 20s. But if I'm 40, 50, and these options are coming in my way, it might be a sense of urgency. So now I got to have some type of intentionality. Oh, I need to get my seed out. Okay, the best practice of getting my seed out is to do it in the confines of a marriage, so I can decrease the likelihood of crime with my offspring, or trauma, or suicide rate, or any of these things that I'm able to research when I'm making this determination. So now I gotta really literally be intentional. And anybody that checked the blocks, I gotta go ahead and check out of the game now. So it's because it's a sense of urgency versus one young, and it's really not a sense of urgency. It's just a matter of the man deciding whether or not he want to do it. He knows that she's a wife, but I could play the field long enough, and I don't necessarily know how to restrict myself to you because I like the novelty right now. So the man does know that. There's no really wrong way to answer. It's just the timing. And the older you get, the more sense of urgency you get as a man, because you want to get your seed out. You want to actually live long enough to see him as a child and grow into an adult before you pass away.
Let me get some of the ladies involved. You think some of these men full of shit? What's going on? What's going on? I'm seeing y'all smiling and shaking heads and sighing. What y'all thinking over there?
I don't think it's most men, but I do think some men, know that this is the one, because I've heard many stories from men who said that, like my sister and her husband, they met in, not that they went to the same high school, but they had like some kind of internship that was through high school. He was from Connecticut, we were from New York. They met, and he said he knew, and he went around and told other people, like if she was talking to a guy, like, yo, what are you talking to my wife for? Stop talking to her. That's about to be my wife. So he knew early on, and they eventually ended up getting married. She didn't even like him, but he knew that that was going to be his wife. So I do think some men who are marriage minded, who know I do want to get married, that they already have an idea and know what it is they're looking for. And so when they see it, and I'm not talking about, oh, the first day we met, I knew, that was going to be my wife. I think in that moment, that's probably lust. But I think the interaction, like whether it's a first date, I'm asking certain questions and I'm getting the kind of answers that I know can't just be, like, for the most part, just made up. I'm watching. So I think when those, things are met, that they could say, okay, she about to be my wife because she's meeting certain qualities. I don't necessarily think that it can, most men would take it to the level of, all right, we're going to the courthouse tomorrow. But it's just kind of like, okay, I see these qualities that I know align with what it is I'm looking for. She wants to be a wife. She wants to be married. She wants to be wants to have children. She has her own goals set up. Oh, she comes from a 2-parent household. Oh, like all of these things that they know are on their checklist of things. And then I think a little vetting process. All right, let me see what kind of family she comes from. All of those things add up. I don't think it means I know she's going to be my wife mean that they're going to get married the next day. It's like I'm willing to invest this time to really vet and know her because I see the potential in her for her to be my wife.
The other thing that we be missing is whenever she do check the block that we're looking for. As a man, we got to make a key decision at that point. Do I want to continue which experience do I want to choose? The experience of being able to have novelty and do what I want, or the experience to go, let me go ahead and tap into this experience of marriage. At that point, it's case by case basis, not you can't generalize it. It depends on if he still want to be fulfilled by just being able to knock down any joint that he passed by, or whether or not he want to check out and go ahead and deal with this woman. But then he start weighing, okay, if I get married, what is the cost of me, checking out of the game? Potential divorce, potential dealing with a woman that might become combative. Because we can argue that in the beginning, everybody can check all of the boxes. And it's just in my experience, I think people been married for 5 to 10 years on here probably can vouch. Over time, the person that you're dealing with could be unbecoming of a wife, or there's. If y'all want me to stop, I'll stop. Go ahead. I think it's rude to do that, but go ahead.
Well, look, as far as the statement was, as far as knowing, I don't know about knowing, but you have an idea. In my opinion, most men have an idea, but you got to continue to do your research and make sure is what you're seeing the real thing. If she's living behind her conversation, is her actions following up with her speech? That's the most important thing. Talk is cheap where I'm from. Action speaks louder than any words. And if her action doesn't live up to what she's saying, now I got to reevaluate the situation. But you do, I think most men do have an idea that she's a wife type material. Now, whether you want to pursue and jump on that and go from there. But I think most guys have an idea.
Hey, Dara, no, I was just showing her face expression. That wasn't for you to stop talking. I was just showing her face expression to what you were saying, but you can go ahead and finish. I wasn't. She just was reacting and real animated, so I was trying to.
No, go to her because she sounds like she got a lot to say. Go ahead.
Bohemian, did you want to give a little bit of context as to what was going on with those face expressions?
Nigga, every time we talk about marriage, you always have to talk about divorce. No one, like psychologically, we cannot think about marriage without thinking about divorce because people keep doing it. Every single time one of these men on the internet that want to be internet famous gets on marriage, they have to talk about divorce and combative women. And I'm like I was cool. Like y'all saw me, y'all cool. And then you gotta think about divorce. And then combative women, people that don't want to submit and be cooperative. We could just talk about marriage. Like if that's the goal, because literally, I think what set me off is that everything was so positive, right? Like everybody was giving like these answers about how men view women when they first meet them. And then we have to be met with divorce. When we're talking about marriage, we're talking about marriage. Divorce is divorce. That's a completely different subject. And if you want people, especially the people who are advocating for nuclear families and marriage and women need to be wives and men need to be husbands, why keep bringing up divorce? That psychologically, that does something to people. If you keep that in the conversation, people are going to always be scared to get married. And then the things that you're talking about are null. You might as well shut the fuck up talking about marriage and just talk about divorce because you're scaring the shit out of people. And also, if you want men to marry these wife-like women, why keep talking about combative women? We're not talking about them. We're talking about the women that you want to marry. This is counterproductive. It has no place in this conversation at all whatsoever. So that's really what my facial expressions were about. It was stupid, with all due respect. I don't know if I can find any in the room because I don't like this divorce conversation when we're talking about marriage, when we're supposed to be marriage minded, when we're supposed to be advocating for marriage. Let the niggas that are hurt and harmed by divorce and they got this arrested development, let them talk about that over there. But we are supposed to be talking about marriage and bringing families together, right? I mean, that's what I thought we were doing in this moment, at least. So why the fuck is we talking about combative women and divorce?
Well, let me answer the question. So why did I mention divorce? Why did I mention combative? Couple of things. Number one, because I can. Who could stop me? Number two, if you feel like that's not what you want to hear, you can remove your ass from the conversation. Nobody's gonna bat an eye. Number three, he asks from a man's perspective. What goes through a man's mind when he's thinking about getting married? And to be genuine about this conversation, you would have to factor in the risk. Unfortunately, women do not think the way we think. This is exposing that we think very differently, y'all. we actually look at the risk when we're making a decision like this. Y'all don't, because divorce is a good thing for y'all. If it's a good thing if it fails according to the probability and the likelihood in most cases. Not all, but most cases. That's why men think about those things, because innately it is natural for us to have novelty. Whenever we get in a marriage, we got to discipline ourselves to the restrictions of a marriage. So we have to consider the factors. Are we actually ready? Can we be emotionally, can we be loyal? Can we be faithful to just one woman and restrict ourselves to that? Are we ready to lead a household? Are we ready to deal with conflict when we deal with a woman? We have to put those things into play, into the thought process when making these decisions. That's why a person like me who done that is able to have a lasting marriage versus yourself who failed at marriage because you didn't think about these things.
Let's talk about divorce.
Excuse me.
Let's talk about your divorce. Let's talk about your divorce.
Excuse me.
Since you want to talk about my divorce, let's talk about divorce. We got that in common.
I wasn't finished talking.
No,
excuse me, I wasn't finished talking.
Let's bring up your
excuse me, I was not finished talking.
What's your first wife leave you
Excuse me, let me finish talking.
Why your first wife leave you, Darwin?
I should let you know that it's poor etiquette to interrupt when somebody's talking. I'll let you finish talking. Can you let me finish talking?
You keep bringing up my divorce.
Can you let me finish talking?
You keep bringing up my failure.
Can you let me finish talking?
Also,
you're showing your true nature, man. Just let me finish talking, and I won't interrupt you when you talk.
That's fine.
Thank you. If you don't want to hear it, you can remove yourself.
I want us to be on the same page of our failures.
We're not on the same page. I'm a married man. You're living in your failure, and you're trying to shoot. You're trying to shoot.
In your failure too.
You're living in your failure.
You know how you living in your motherfucking
You're living in your failure.
See, now we finna do this.
Can you please just let me finish talking? I've respected you whenever you were talking. But you barked up the wrong tree, and now your panties is wet right now.
So go ahead and just Darwin.
Can you just be quiet? Can you be quiet and let me finish talking?
You can have the floor. Here's the thing: I don't submit to you.
Can you have some decorum and let another panelist talk?
I respected.
I respected the platform, not necessarily you. I respected the platform to allow you to finish speaking, so that the podcast continue to be effective for those who want to listen. But what you're doing is you're being a statue in New York. You're being that overweight statue in New York right now.
Let's talk about our failed marriages.
Can you let me finish what I was saying, and then you can ask? Can you let me finish what I'm saying, and you can ask me questions about failed marriage?
No, because you brought up me and my failure. So
I'll let you go ahead and talk. You go ahead and talk.
No, let's talk about your failed marriage as well. You keep talking about this successful ass marriage, and just because I have not married again, I'm living in my failure. I'm living in my fucking success. I chose myself. That doesn't have shit to do with anything. But let's talk about why the fuck you got left. Did she file or did you file? Let's talk about that, since you always want to bring up somebody's divorce, because you are a divorced man. Your ass got left or left. We don't know.
Are you finished talking?
So don't bring up my motherfucking divorce again. Don't bring up my divorce again unless you're ready to talk about yours. So as long as you stop talking about my divorce, we'll stop talking about yours.
I don't know if you want to moderate, but I'm trying to be respectful.
Bring up my divorce. This is the one that
gonna make me revert back to being bruiser again, and I don't want to do that on this platform no more. I turned over a new leaf. Okay, so let me finish saying what I was saying. So to summarize what I was saying, when you ask a question in this nature from the position of where a man have to give his perspective, it's important for some of the women to just shut up and listen. Because we're trying to give you the game on here on how we think. You wouldn't otherwise get if you didn't have the luxury of being able to talk to us. But whenever you give us the time to be able to explain ourselves on how we think when we're making a critical decision and getting in marriage, it is a such thing that we actually consider these factors before we making a life-changing decision. And whether or not we can actually deal with a woman based off of what she's given us is important. And we know that a lot of women be on their representative in the beginning whenever we're trying to select and vet them out to actually seal the deal at the altar. We keep it a space in our mind to be able to compensate for the fact that she might change up on us. So we do consider divorce because it's likely to happen in this era. This is the one era that is most likely to happen out of all the eras. And we're just seeing it way too often to turn a blind eye to it. And we have a group of women growing that's trying to convince us to not consider those factors so we can set ourselves up for failure and set our sons up for failure. And we just don't want to do that. So I'm one of those guys that are going to continue to hold the line. And I'm not doing it out of just saying it. I'm doing it out of integrity and credibility. I'm speaking from a position of where I'm living at, and I have a history of the things that I'm talking about. You can go ahead and check my resume. So guys who listening, you can listen to me, a man who's not afraid to show his wife, not afraid to present his lifestyle to the public, and can actually take time out of his life to go and push the narrative. Or you could listen to a woman who's scorned, bitter, angry, and alone, and failed. Your choice.
Definitely don't want to attack Bo at all. I don't think Bo was a part of the conversation we were having before we went live. But me and Ms. Taken actually talked about this particular thing, and she asked me if I was married or if I was seeking to be married, and I actually did bring up the concern of divorce in all actuality. So I'm speaking to what Darwin is saying, that the assessment of the approach to marriage for most men, we don't just look at one side, we look at the other side as well. That's just wise, only because of the fact that you don't carry a marriage as an individual, you carry it as a unit. So there's two people, and unfortunately, we have to take into consideration that this person, this woman who I'm going to end up with, may arrive at the decision to want to leave. That's just reality. I think that there's room for that, but I'll laugh.
I actually kind of I agree with both, but I do also agree with understand Bo's perspective that if every time, not saying that you don't factor that, I think women factor that as well, because it is a potential reality, right? But I also think when you are having those conversations, if most of the conversation is fear-based, so when you're talking about planning for a divorce, like all of those things, to me, that's coming from a fear-based mindset of already prepping your mind that more than likely my marriage won't work. So if you're already planning your escape, you're not planning for the betterment of the marriage. Like the conversation around the divorce, we're going to have those it appears that we are having those conversations more, as opposed to having the conversations around marriage and sometimes the barriers or the struggles that go within a marriage and what to do when that happens, so we never get to the divorce. That's where I think the conversations need to shift. I'm not saying not factor that in, but are you factoring in how do we overcome the changes that go on in a marriage? If she happens to change, what season is he in that I'm going to have to deal with? If we're having conversations around that, then a lot of times the divorce part won't even come into play because we're prepping for the marge. It seems like
can I ask you a question,
prepping for the divorce.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? So the reason, and the biggest reason why I include divorce or any of those things that could cause us to separate as a couple in the conversation early on is because I've had the luxury to have conversations with the lead attorney so many times. We even met and we just talk about this stuff about the number one mistake men make is not having the protection going in. So what divorce or the talks about having issues that you can't overcome, the likelihood of it, just having that protection, just having the pre-marital agreement set up, it just makes things more safer. I give a man a more ease of mind when he's making a decision. Because if we look at what the reality is and what has happened, people file for divorce. I'm not saying it's going to happen to me or the next guy, but people file. And the worst thing for men specifically is not being prepared for it. And sometimes, most of the time, prepared means having a pre-marital agreement. And that's all I was just trying to convey.
Now, the truth is, yes, you could, but see, I guess that's where I'm getting at. I'm not saying, like, thinking logically. When we were backstage, me and True, we were talking about setting up, premarital situations or coming up with agreements of how this is going to run. But see, a lot of times when we are getting married, we're having those conversations, right? About if we get divorced. But how often, in ask the lead attorney, since you have a relationship with him, ask him out of those divorces, how many of them, if he were to, have those conversations with the couple, did they sit down and plan out the stuff that I'm talking about? Well, what happens when we have a disagreement? Well, what happens when you might come into this phase of life? What happens if this, and set up a plan for that? I think that is the bigger issue.
Yeah, we had those.
Because between the asking of getting married to the point that you end up in a divorce, we're planning for the wedding, we're planning for the divorce, but nobody's planning for the in-between, the marriage itself. And that's why the divorce happens.
Well,
because we don't have a plan.
I could assure you that the conversations also talk about how to mitigate conflicts and I guess varying decisions between a couple. We talk about that all too. We don't just talk about the end in the beginning. We also talk about how to communicate and work out through problems or get counseling whenever y'all two can't figure it out. This is a lot of things that I've practiced myself. So these are well within the conversations when we talk to the lead attorney. Like I don't even think I need to mention the man has practiced for 20 years, so he knows a lot about it, the inner workings of relationship, how to get through that and mediate through it and all that stuff. But the premarital agreement still stands strong as a essence of protection for not just the man but the woman too. Because I think earlier we had actually brought up divorce, and it's funny that whenever I brought it up, it was a problem. But we did mention in the essence of protecting the woman and the woman not being left out in the streets with nothing. It was fine and dandy when we talked about that. But even whenever I mentioned premarital agreements, I didn't mention just for protection of the man. It was also protection for the woman so that she can get properly educated with the skills to be able to sustain herself from being out of work or being away from, just being gainfully employed in society for 20 or X amount of years. So the premarital agreement protection is something that I don't know why we avoid it so much, but I think it needs to be a part of the conversation and not always a negative connotation to it, a way of escape. It's more like a way to be prepared in case things happen. Because if you look at life, we have all the preparation for all these other things. But when it comes to how we deal with one another, we don't want to prepare for the things that could potentially happen with that.
And I guess that's what I'm getting at, the potential. So I think the in-between between the getting married and getting divorced is the potential. And we don't plan for the potential part, the marriage. That's where all of the work in a marriage occurs. It doesn't occur in the very beginning when you walk down the aisle and say, I do. And it doesn't happen at the end when you get the divorce, it's over. And I think for me and just not, I can't even just say for me, just from people that I know who are currently married and people who have been through a divorce, that when they look back at it and we're talking about it, is like, well, I didn't really know what to do. Like they're going through a marriage as a happenstance. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have the skills, they don't have the tools, they don't have the things to kind of figure out the in-between part and making some agreements ahead of time. Now, I'm not saying that my marriage had been perfect and, we didn't have ups and downs and we didn't have these things and that we grew to learn how to develop some of the skills. But I think our conversations ahead of time and things like that kind of help sustain that. And like my parents are the only ones out of my mom's siblings who ever got divorced. So for me, my mindset, I didn't even think about a divorce. Now his parents were divorced too, but his mindset was the same, like divorce is not an option. So what are we going to do in between so we can avoid this, regardless of what happens? And I mean, we're 22 years in, so we're on our way. But, I can't speak for the future. We may run into some other stuff that we've never, encountered before. But because we have a history of saying, okay, stuff happened, what's the game plan? How are we going to figure it out? That I would think that if the whatever next comes up, that we would still use those same skills that we developed. But nobody talks about that.
I mean, there are people who discuss it. They have things like premarital counseling, but I think on average, people do prepare for the beginning and the possibility of the end instead of saying, like, how do we communicate when we argue? How do we do this? How, when the kids come along, how do we want to raise the kids? You know, when they get to high school, when we get elderly, different things, you know, if we get sick. Instead, it's just the beginning and the end instead of focusing heavily on the middle, the actual marriage, so that the probability of divorce is so much less and less likely. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I agree with that, and like my whole plan here, whenever I came to this conversation, was not to beat up on nobody or become an enemy or anything like that. It was just to elaborate on my own perspective and how I can insert it based off of the work I do off of the platform. And I would say the benefit of me having conversations about, you know, how to deal with, you know, issues before I even got married has helped me sustain a marriage. Because again, nobody likes to talk about, okay, what do you do whenever it's time for y'all to get a mortgage, and she want to spend over 15% of y'all total income on a monthly income on a mortgage, and potentially put y'all at odds when it comes to expenses. Are you gonna? And she says she really likes that house. Are you gonna say no? You know, we got to do this because of finances. Like being able to navigate those things. A lot of my content, I talk about a lot of that stuff in my content, just navigating within the relationship. So it isn't. I don't restrict myself to the end and beginning, but I think, right. And when we have these conversations and people start talking, people got their own perspective. We just got to respect that they got their own perspective, and they're not necessarily going to curate what they say to what you like to hear. And I think if we can navigate through that, this show right here on the Lapeef Network and the audience listening, they have a better experience.
I think you were fine giving your input on all these different topics. And of course, there's going to be people who don't agree. I think where it went off the tracks is when you brought up Bo's divorce and her failure. That's a very harsh thing to say. And plus, this is a debate. This is a place for conversation. There's no need to integrate. Maybe it was a failed marriage for her, but from what we know of you now is that you have a failed marriage also. Unless the both of you, for whatever reason, feel comfortable to bring that up with each other and know that's okay, I feel that's inappropriate. And that was a low shot because the discussion was not about Bo's past marriage or failed marriage. It was about the topic of marriage and also at the time divorce. So nobody has issue with you speaking on what your values are or are not. It's just that I'm sorry, but I have to say something that was out of line and absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah, it was unnecessary, but I would say determining whether it was unnecessary is contingent upon the person that's looking at it. You thought it was unnecessary.
I mean, what purpose did it serve?
Well, I think the purpose.
Darwin.
Well, if I can respond,
leaf.
I would say the purpose that it served was, I think it did what I wanted it to do. I think it shut her up, and she's quiet now, and I that's what I was hoping for.
But that's
it wasn't
not where
wrong.
we're here. We're here to communicate.
Bo, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it.
Look. Listen, I agree with you.
I'm not dirty. No, I just wanted him to know I'm still here. I'm cool.
I agree with you, Kiana, that it was wrong. It was a low blow. But if you're trying to convince me,
I think you're telling that to the wrong person, though. You should be telling that to Bo because Bo didn't come at you bringing up your failed divorce immediately.
You don't want to talk to me right now, but okay.
No, but it's you talking to her. You can open that door.
Let me say this. There's absolutely no need for him to ever apologize to me.
I wasn't trying to apologize.
Darwin did that as a dig. Darwin did that to get up under my skin. And yes, mistaken, I definitely fell for it. I did. It was, but the thing is that it always has to be my divorce, right? Like it can't be anything else about me. Darwin never brings anything up good about me. Darwin only ever brings up my divorce. Darwin only ever brings up things to dig at me. And so that's what I noticed today. He uses things as a weapon in order to get people riled up, right? That's what he does. And so now I'm realizing that. Now I'm realizing Darwin ain't never been cool with me. Darwin has always done this. He has always used these things in order to make himself look like he knows what he's talking about. And I'm okay with that. It's cool. So you can paint me as bitter, you can paint me as a failure, you can paint me as all of these things. I don't hear Darwin saying anything positive about me. And that is not someone that means me any good, which means that that's not someone that requires that amount of energy from me anymore. I can't give anyone any energy that does not mean me any good. And I'm cool with that. Like literally when Mistaken was like, don't fall for it, it clicked. And I was like, shit. So I'm cool. Like, I'm cool. Don't ever apologize to me. I'm cool. You did what you wanted to do. It got the reaction that you wanted. I'm really glad for you. And that was a good finale for us. That was a great finale for us, for you in particular. So I'm going to let you have it. You can continue to paint me as bitter and a failure and a divorced woman, and I'm living in my failure. And I'm cool with that because I know what my daily life is like, and you don't, because you don't know anything about me personally. You've never inquired. You've never been concerned. You only ever defended a man that hurt me very, very badly. That's the only thing I've ever seen from you is you bring up my divorce and you defended that man. So I'm cool. I'm great. Thank you, Mistaken. Really, thank you for saying that because it literally just clicked when you said that to me.
All right, let me try to respond to you, Kiana, what you said earlier. First of all, as a man who practiced accountability, I could agree that I did take a low blow. But am I going to apologize about it? No, because that's what I wanted to do. I'm also a man of my word at the same time. Yes, that's what I wanted to do because he was barking up the wrong tree when she started to attack what I was saying or attack my character and why I had a particular perspective. So sometimes you got to put people in their place. The second thing is, I don't know if you haven't been here long enough, but maybe you was watching earlier this year or this woman specifically has a habit of pouring out her experiences and her history in her life and her relationships. And then she dig at other people. I'm not the first person this happened to. There's a woman by the name of Dr. Lady O who took a low blow on her
Dr.
too.
Lady O.
Even though it wasn't warranted. I'm not gonna say it wasn't warranted, even though it was also disrespectful in her response. But her specifically, she'll dig at people, knowing that she's putting her personal life on the line to be scrutinized and expect you not to touch it. And I didn't necessarily was strategic or try to meticulously touch on her divorce. Divorce was what we were actually talking about. So that's why it came to mind. You know, it's not like, oh, if we're talking about dating and trickery, I'm not going to say, well, you've been divorced. I'm just not going to throw that at it, but it had to relate to the topic. It had to be relatable to what we're saying. So because we brought up divorce, that's the reason why I just don't just hold a divorce card over her head like that. So that's another mischaracterization.
Okay. And I understand that. And you standing on your word, I respect that. And not only you standing on your word, but you admitting it was an intentional low blow. That's what you wanted to do. So, hey, that's between you guys.
And the reason why, and I kind of justify it as an intentional low blow because that particular question JR asked, it had to come from not only a man, it had to come from somebody who could speak from integrity. And she was not able to do that. That's the reason why it was justified for me to bring it up. She's not married. She haven't showed that she could secure a marriage long enough to substantiate even talking about it. So it had to be mentioned so she can close her mouth because she was just speaking out of order.
But Darwin, let's keep it real.
Hold on. Let me get the super chat so we can close out, and then we can
do it in the back. Yeah.
Zoo Kuiper, $10. I'm sorry, but an average guy does not pay woman's bills for a month or two, or take a vacation. Paying airfare, hotel, and food is more than enough. $2. Shan, this is dangerous. A girl can get wasted. Again, $5. Kelly Rowland's career was going down and almost forgotten until the man came in her life. This is why a woman should recognize fame in the man. Kevin Cook, 6670. $5 is thousands of people who never had their own. Their cohabitation is sleeping on a friend's couch. Do you know this type of person? If, of course, you do. LD 244, also a member. $4.99. This dude with the girl name, don't know what he's talking about. Kelvin Cook, $66.70. $2. Men have considered peace. You ain't mad, is you? What was that? Oh yeah. I really don't care. 22, $10 is funny how Bo always trying to sell someone else what to say and do, and then say people don't want to listen to you. You can $2. Mistaken marriage is not the problem. Divorce is. And saying you want $5, repeating them should be signed 6+ months before the wedding. Anything else less than that, and you run the risk of the excuse that it was signed under duress. You can $2 at Kiana. Why bring it up if you're the wrong person? Again, divorce is a good thing as long as it protects you. Crying free, man, $1.99. If someone called me fat, I would start eating. And Marcus Evans, $406, $5. What up, brother? Lapeef, Darwin, and brother Hink. And Darwin ain't lying about what he said. I want to thank everybody.
Before you end it, I need to say one thing on live on the record. It's just to Kiana, so it can be live because this is important. Kiana, if you stick around here long enough, you will have to hold your own here. This is not the first case where I've been attacked from my household, my marriage, my wife. I had 2 women on here attack me simultaneously this year, and I had to defend my house and my wife and my marriage on this very, very channel. So it's a little bit of muscle memory that comes into play whenever women start to come after me on here, and it's always about my marriage or something like that. So if you stay on here long enough, you may have ended in yours, and you wouldn't be wrong for doing it.
I want to thank everybody who contributed to the platform. Y'all make sure y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday. Happy holidays. If I don't see you back on here, y'all take care. Thank you, guys.